per room for carpet cleaning. Schedule Monday or Tuesday and clean before the new year. Schedule today online at zerores.com. I'm Andy Farnsworth in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather now. It's an uneventful week for the weather. 40s today and sticking around through the weekend. We'll have clouds, too, every day except for it looks like Thursday. And daily lows will be about 30 degrees. Right now it is 30 at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Hey, welcome to the show. Dave Noriega and no Debbie Dujanovic today. She's off. Instead, I've got a great co-host, Abby Osborne, who is the Chief of Staff of the House of Representatives here on the Hill. What does the Chief of Staff do? First of all, just a brief little description.
A little description. Ooh, I have a little nameplate, and it's the chaos coordinator.
Okay.
So let's just leave it at that.
A chaos coordinator. That actually probably describes it as well as anything on your business card. Whatever your business card says, chaos coordinator should definitely be on it.
That's it. But it's a real honor to do the job. It's a looking in my rearview mirror to know what we've accomplished. I'm really proud of it.
Well, this will be a fun 3 hours. You're used to doing KSL at night, which is only 2 hours. Yeah, that third hour, you're going to need a little, jolt of caffeine. I'm just going to prepare you for that. But we start off the show every single day with the launch.
Sequence engaged.
Now, typically, it's the three things that Debbie wants you to know, but these are the three things that we want you to know today.
Countdown. 3.
All right, 3 university presidents were invited to testify in front of Congress regarding their campus policies regarding free speech. Specifically because there were some pro-Palestinian protests. They got a little spicy. Now, it cost one of them their jobs. The other 2 are sitting on red-hot seats. So the question we have that we're going to ask and figure out where we land here in Utah is, what's the line of free speech on campuses? Where does it cross the line? And what do we do here in Utah?
Yeah, we have 16 universities here, state universities here in the state of Utah, passed a resolution last week about neutrality. So we're going to talk about that in depth for a few segments today, and I think the viewers, listeners will be incited.
Countdown. 2.
All right, let's talk about the economy. It's one of the things that is dragging President Biden down in the polls. But reports are showing that the economy is getting stronger. Do you buy it? Do you buy the reports that say the economy is getting stronger? Are you feeling it? Because I'll tell you this, I don't feel it. We're going to ask an economist, but
gas prices are below $3, and I see it consistently now, Dave, so maybe that's an early lead indicator.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Okay, also, let's go back to some polling from the Wall Street Journal. Shows that Donald Trump, and this is not just unique to the Wall Street Journal, several polls have shown this, that Donald Trump is beating President Biden if they were to go head-to-head. But this most recent Wall Street Journal one shows something extra. It's showing that Nikki Haley, if Donald Trump wins, Nikki Haley is like on Santa's sleigh, flying around the earth at Mach 9. She is destroying President Biden.
Yeah, she would absolutely crush him.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
All right, so Trump takes the 2024 lead, the head-to-head with President Biden, as President Biden's approval numbers hit new lows. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Unhappiness with Biden's performance, it's pervasive. Economic pessimism, according to the poll here, seems to be what's weighing him down.
Absolutely. I mean, this poll says Biden legs Trump. This, again, you said this in the launch, Dave, but this is in the Wall Street Journal. Came out 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. And Biden legs Trump by 4 percentage points, 47-43 in a hypothetical ballot. Trump expands to 6% when you have a third-party candidate in the race, right? We're hearing from the Kennedy, and we're hearing from, what is her name? Why is her name escaping me? From Wyoming.
Oh,
my
Liz
goodness.
Cheney?
Liz
Yeah.
Cheney, right? She hasn't announced yet, but thinking maybe a third-party candidacy. But the poll also shows that, boy, if Nikki Haley is the Republican nominee, she crushes President Biden.
Okay, so this is, I've said this several times on the show. I've said you could basically put any Republican candidate, whether it's Chris Christie or Vivek Ramaswamy, Mike Pence. I really don't care who you put in there. I think they beat Biden head to head. It could be close, but I think they and I've always thought, well, the only Republican candidate that could lose to Joe Biden right now is Donald Trump.
Again.
Yeah, again.
For a second time.
Yeah.
Right?
So, okay, but the numbers we're seeing from Nikki Haley, what kind of lead are we talking about?
So she actually does crush him. And I'm looking for the numbers right now, Dave. So if you have
I saw some that were
17
points.
17 points, 51-43 over Biden. That's incredible, right? And you think about, you visualize a debate happening between those two, right? A head-to-head debate. She kills it on that debate with, you said it earlier, the little quick quips.
Yes.
And also, like, she is great on foreign policy. She knows what's going on in the world today, and she can make it up the stage without tripping.
It's in 5-inch heels, as she has been very clear about. They're not 3-inch heels; they are 5-inch heels.
No, they are. They are absolutely 5-inch heels.
And I think when you look at these numbers, and Nikki Haley specifically, because we have kind of seen this. All right, in every debate, Donald Trump hasn't participated in any of the debates, so it ends up just being we've kind of joked who's fighting for the silver medal,
Right.
because the gold's already
the number 2 spot.
Yeah, the vice president.
Maybe.
You hear some of it. I wonder, because in the debates, I've been shocked at how little the candidates have criticized President Trump.
Besides Christie. Christie has gone after him. But the other 3, the 3 that are left, right?
Yeah.
Have really been, with the exception of a few things, they've been very cautious.
I will even say this with Chris Christie. He doesn't come out guns a-blazing, flamethrower, nonstop, which is kind of what I expected from him. I thought every question and answer would revolve around demolishing Trump. Mm-hmm. And that really hasn't been the case. He's had some things, but in part because I think the other candidates on this stage have not gone in with him.
Right.
So he seems to me that he's backed off on some of the Trump criticism, just because it's not playing well to the audience. Every time he criticizes Trump, he gets booed by the audience, and then no other candidate is jumping on the Christie bandwagon to say, you're right, and this, and this.
Well, the 3 of them, with the exception of Christie, in the third debate, when asked point blank, will you support President Trump if he is the GOP nominee? They all unequivocally said yes.
Yeah.
And, that's, you can see that, right? Like, they're a Republican at heart. They're never going to vote for Joe Biden. So, yes, if I lose to President Trump in the primaries, I will support him as the nominee. And all 3 of them have said that. Christie was the only one that waffled a little bit.
And even the fact that he waffled a little bit, I'm like, if you really feel that way about the guy, just say no. Just say absolutely not. There's no way I would. But no, it's very difficult, because, again, you only get choice A or B.
Yes.
So if you're not
maybe a C.
Maybe a C?
We'll see.
So if it is Robert F. Kennedy, perhaps it's Liz Cheney, whoever it might be, with no labels if they get on the ticket as well. But straight ahead, let's discuss more about the Nikki Haley standout. And it's not a resurgence. It really is just almost kind of the rocket fuel that has been injected into her campaign so far. We're going to reach out to ABC News and get the latest on Nikki Haley.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We know Utah relies on KSL for balance and fair treatment.
We provide news and analysis from all sides.
Utah's Morning News from 5 to 9.
Dave and Debbie, 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
It is the beginning of a season that should rekindle hope.
Casualties in this war, hard to comprehend.
Homelessness in Utah has been steadily increasing.
News is more than information. Spend your day with people who do more than report, who enjoy and celebrate Utah.
Did I just almost call her Dr. Jennifer Aniston? I love stories like that.
The neighborhood school that looked like a spaceship.
They're not beautiful structures.
We promise to remember what's really important. You. A holiday promise from KSL News Radio.
When words come out of our mouths and everything sounds fine, no one bats an eye. But if things come out a little jumbled or letters sound different than most, there's speech therapy. But did you know that speech therapy is used for more than just stuttering or disfluency? From articulation to expressive and receptive language to a simple act of swallowing that most of us take for granted, speech therapy can do amazing things for you, your health, and of course your sense of self. That's why Summit Speech Therapy is here. Summit Speech Therapy works with people of all ages, from infants and toddlers who have a difficult time feeding or eating, TBI, stroke, or coma patients, to children and adults with speech problems. So much of it is all related, and Summit Speech Therapy can help. Summit works with all insurance companies as well as private pay options, and the experience can be life-changing. With clinics up and down the Wasatch Front, including Murray, with no long waiting for an appointment. For more, visit summitslp.com. That's summitslp.com.
God, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
The holiday season is right around the corner, so give the gift that's hard to wrap but easy to give. Give them a Stihl. With powerful trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws to place under the tree, the Stihl Holiday Gift Guide has something for everyone. Save $30 on the GTA 26 battery-powered garden pruner. Visit your local Stihl dealer or go to stihlusa.com/gift guide. Real Stihl. Find yours. Now $149.99 was $179.99 MSRP. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
Do you know how to tell if a clogged drain is something to worry about or not? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I understand it's annoying and inconvenient, but sometimes a clogged drain can be a sign there's a more serious issue with your sewer main line. If the drains in the lowest level of your home aren't draining, or you flush a toilet and it comes up somewhere else like a shower or a floor drain, I'm urging you to look at this as more than just an annoyance. The last thing I want you to experience is a sewer backup. If you're a homeowner experiencing any of these issues, the first step would be to snake the line to see if it's just a blockage, which one of our drain techs can do for only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you ever feel like getting your supplies for your CPAP is just a huge headache? Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. We'll say goodbye to the hassle and hello to a stress-free life with our CPAP resupply service. Signing up is a breeze. Just place a call, choose your products, and leave the insurance billing and shipping to us. Our discreet packaging prioritizes your privacy, and we always ensure an on-time delivery. No more trips to the store or worrying about running out of important supplies. We get how crucial your CPAP therapy is, so don't let the stress of keeping up with it affect your sleep and health. Join Alpine Resupply today and enjoy a tranquil night's sleep with all your CPAP essentials. Visit us at alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. Don't wait for bad weather to schedule professional snow service with GoPave Utah. Your complete parking lot safety starts at gopaveutah.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a Utah Highway Patrol trooper is injured but expected to fully recover after a passing car allegedly hit him. Second, Utah's got a year-round energy assistance program that could help keep low-income families warm this winter. Third, 29 tornadoes touched down in the south this weekend, leaving several people dead. Right now, it's 30 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
A new poll in the Wall Street Journal shows Trump outpacing Biden. But the real surprise of this poll is what is going on with Nikki Haley. My goodness, it's Ron DeSantis for a very, very long time has been the clear number 2. Everybody else is just kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th, changing positions until recently. Nikki Haley has surged in the polls. Her support, the money that is coming into her campaign, the Koch Foundation has endorsed her, so there's huge money behind her campaign, and it is blossoming right now and booming. Filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Abby Osborne, who's the chief of staff at the Utah House of Representatives. And Abby, you've kind of watched this. You've seen this where state lawmakers were very pro Ron DeSantis. He came to Utah, got a lot of support, got a lot of endorsements. But it seems like the tides have changed, and it is all Nikki Haley right now.
Absolutely, and she has been solid all 4 debates. She's answered the questions. She stood up there. She spoke about policy, and I think voters in these polls are reacting.
The polls have found that Trump is dominating, obviously. And when you look at many polls, his lead can be 30, 40, 50 points. I mean, it's just a staggering number. But Nikki Haley may be the stronger candidate in the general election, although Trump is dominating the primary election.
That's right. That's right. So if you look at a head-to-head Trump and Biden, Trump generally wins, but it can flip-flop depending on the poll, right? And this is a Wall Street Journal poll. It's not a campaign poll for all the listeners out there, so that's really important to note. But Nikki Haley head-to-head with President Biden wins by 17 points in this poll, 51-34, compared to Trump's 4-point lead over Biden right now. And I will note, Dave, Biden said, now it was on the tarmac, as he was getting on the plane, a reporter asked him, "Are you only running because President Trump's running?" And he said, essentially, "Yes, I will run I'm running because he's running." And so that's a really interesting take on why Biden is running for a second term here.
Brittany Shepard joins us right now from ABC News, national politics reporter out of Washington, focusing on Nikki Haley right now, that standout candidate so far. Is this just a moment she's having, or does there seem to be a movement toward Nikki Haley?
I think it's somewhere in between. Definitely something that Ron DeSantis was getting in the press right now. It's a moment she's been able to replicate. That's why I say it's somewhere between moment and movement. Because if I think it was a movement, the primary voter base would be following, and that's not what we're seeing. I think it's important to distinguish a primary voter base and a general election voter base. They're very different. And Nikki Haley and her campaign are trying to pitch that she is the most moderate, reliable alternative. They're going to say, look at the numbers, look at the Wall Street Journal, the best Biden by, what was that, 15 points, 14 points? That's astronomical and great for their campaign. But that message is not landing with GOP primary voters, and those are people who matter, because getting delegates is how you become the nominee to become president. But here's her pitch to be, why not Trump? Somebody who used to be her boss, a friend, a colleague, and now she's floated away from being a Trump supporter, but not quite anti-Trump like Chris Christie, for example. She told us, actually, this exclusive interview aired with Nikki Haley on ABC Tonight, that, quote, Donald Trump brings us chaos, us being the Republican Party. I think I offer a different approach, no dramas, no vendettas, no whining. We as a party have to get this right. But the party still wants Trump. There's no question. Look at this Iowa poll that came on NBC this morning. I think Trump's at 52%, And DeSantis is all the way back at 20%, like you were saying. Some of these goals seem so impossible to climb. But there are ways, I would say arduous ways around it, and that's by trying to pick off independent voters. And that's what Nikki Haley really wants to do.
One of the things that stood out to me in this Wall Street Journal poll is not just that Haley is doing so well, that Trump is doing fairly well, but the fact that Ron DeSantis seems pretty flat. That it looks like in a head-to-head, battle with Biden, that I think wasn't it split?
It was. Yeah.
I mean, what's going on with the DeSantis camp right now?
Well, she's having she's incredibly poor press. We're seeing 4 debates where Donald Trump isn't on the stage and DeSantis can't play off of their falling out, right? When there's no David, there's also no Goliath. And it's very difficult for his campaign to be able to instruct and construct a narrative that's meeting voters. We're seeing all the headlines that maybe he's wearing boosters in his shoes and he's wearing high heels. Like, it goes from that silly to he's awkward, he's uncomfortable. Donors, which is where this actually really matters because you need money to win and run for president, are fleeing him in droves. And the Koch brothers, they're an old institution. I think some young Republicans say we don't need them. They have a lot of money and a lot of influence here in Washington. If the Koch brothers say, actually, we think Nikki Haley is their best shot, folks who maybe like Ron DeSantis as a man or as a governor in Florida are going to say, I don't want my name associated with him, on a line item. I don't want to be writing him a check. I don't feel like he's representative of the party. And frankly, Republicans just want someone in the White House. So if they see Ron DeSantis and think that he's not going to be able to cross that finish line, especially in the suburbs where this really matters. A lot of politicos here in D.C. think the suburbs is why Trump really lost last cycle. A lot of women, a lot of moms said that they're really turned off by Trump. And DeSantis for a long time was hailed, like you were saying, as the second coming of Donald Trump, right? Like a mini-me. And if they're turned off by that brand and mainstream Republicans don't think that he is enough like Trump, then he really doesn't have a voter base or story to pitch the American people.
Brittany Shepard, thank you for joining us, ABC News national politics reporter out of Washington. And I think, Abby, when I see what's happened to DeSantis, and typically when a candidate loses support, you see almost this just drop off. Mm-hmm. But that is not what's happened to DeSantis. It started very high earlier in the year, and it has just slowly, a couple percentage points every month, dropped down and down and down further and further. And it hasn't been that off the waterfall kind of moment, but it is, to say it's a leaky balloon, it's like a slow leak tire.
And his donor fundraising has done about the same thing, right? He spiked early and just hasn't really caught up.
Well, with Nikki Haley getting the endorsement, especially of the Koch Foundation, and they have just tens of millions of dollars in backing, possibly finding those kind of donors and support, does that siphon off anything from the Trump camp? What do you see from the Trump camp as far as fundraising, or is it just a juggernaut that people can't donate quick enough to him?
Yeah, I do think that's happening, right? And he can self-fund. It's absolutely happening. And he hasn't really had to do anything. There's been no campaigning that's had to be had here, Dave. And he just shows up on TV or makes a statement on one of his media outlets, and it works for him. He doesn't have to do much campaigning.
Everybody runs.
Everybody
runs with it. You say something, we'll report on it. It is pretty incredible. And I think the other candidates, the other Republicans, just must feel like the free publicity that he gets every time he says something versus everything they have to pay for has got to be overwhelming. Hey, when we come back, a really fascinating conversation. I think I am absolutely fascinated by this. 3 university presidents were invited to testify in front of Congress. Typically, these things are not very splashy. Well, this very thing cost one of them their job. It might cost all 3 of them their jobs by the end of the week.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a UHP trooper is expected to be all right after a crash early Saturday morning involving a suspected impaired driver going over 100 miles an hour. KSL News Radio's Mark Jackson reports.
According to the probable cause statement, 22-year-old Guillermo Velasquez was arrested after an attempted traffic stop in Ogden, where troopers say he evaded them going 101 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone. Charges against Velasquez, also injured in the crash, include felony failure to yield to officer's signal to stop. 5 other misdemeanors include driving under the influence, the suspect's second impairment offense in 10 years. There were 4 occupants of the Impala. According to the probable cause statement, troopers say Velasquez was highly intoxicated and was driving on a suspended driver's license. Mark Jackson, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Utah Senator Mitt Romney says university leaders have a responsibility to do more to combat hate speech on campuses. He told NBC's Meet the Press he was horrified by testimony of the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and the University of Pennsylvania before Congress last week.
They're saying it's okay for people to call for genocide of the Jewish people. And by the way, this is not just about Jews, it's about members of Islam. I mean, it's about tolerance for people who are different in our country, and these university presidents have to stand up for that. Their failure to do so was an extraordinary failure.
The president of the University of Pennsylvania announced her resignation over the weekend after a contentious congressional hearing that led to big campus donors threatening to withdraw funding. Controversial talk show host Alex Jones is back on the X social media platform. His account was suspended back in 2018 for violating Twitter's policies. X owner Elon Musk posted the results of a poll on his platform yesterday, showing 70% of respondents were in favor of bringing Jones back. Jones has been convicted of defamation related to the 2012 Sandy Hook elementary school shooting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 77 points. That's 0.2%. We're at 36,325. Coming up, sunny and cloudy. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
Master Electrical has been so fantastic. In fact, I had them come out to my house the other day because I need a new EV charger. I bought a new car. Electric vehicle, and I just had to find out, okay, well, what am I looking at? And they were so amazing on a couple different things. Number one, they walked me outside and they said, okay, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to run conduit here. We're going to plug into there. They described how it was going to look aesthetically, and then they told me about something I'd never even heard about. There was a tax rebate that I was eligible for that I had no idea about. They're like, oh, yeah, no, you can save up to $1,000 here or 30% there. It was incredible. I loved my experience with Master Electrical. If you need some sort of job done, they do everything. Lights, ceiling fans, smoke detectors, you name it, they do it. There's an upfront pricing guarantee. They serve everywhere from Logan to Santa Quin. All you have to do is give them a call, 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222. Or you can check out more online at masterelectrical.com.
Last year, other dealers were charging up to $10,000 over MSRP, but those cars haven't held their value. I'm Josh Osborne with Volkswagen Southtown. If you owe more on your car than it's worth, exchange it.
Is your car payment too much? Exchange it. Is your interest rate too high? Exchange it. Want a better price? You guessed it. Exchange your vehicle at Volkswagen Southtown today. We've got rates as low as 2.99 APR, low leases, and thousands off MSRP.
Come and see us or visit us at VWSouthtown.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit.
Hi, this is Cameron Rising. Growing up, summer break was the best, but I've learned that a lot of kids don't feel the same. That's because summer means their school breakfast and lunch won't be available. What's awesome is the food bank helps. Join me and Les Olson IT by giving food, time, or money. Take your donations to any Les Olson IT branch or the food bank, and find more info at lesolson.com/food. Let's support our community together.
Guys, does she need a little escape this year? Introducing Cozy Escape Pajamas from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts. These PJs are just the getaway she needs. So take that time off and plan a holiday staycation. Cozy Escape Pajamas make the perfect gift for your special someone who deserves a little rest and relaxation. Treat her to luxurious next-level Cozy signature soft fleece. They're as light as a dream and will keep her oh so warm, like snuggling in her favorite blanket. She'll love to cuddle in Cozy Escape PJs on those extra chilly nights. With Pajamagram, you can even add gift packaging. Order now for guaranteed delivery by Christmas. She's missed out on a lot of things she loves this year, so this Christmas, give her the escape she deserves. These new PJs are selling fast, so order today. Go to pajamagram.com right now. That's pajamagram.com to order Cozy Escape Pajamas. Pajamagram.com. Advanced Window Products. Affordable windows from their factory to your front door in 8 weeks. Guaranteed. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindowsusa.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things looking great now across the Wasatch Front. No delays on I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, or Weber counties. Few of the city streets have a little bit of congestion, like Redwood Road as you head around downtown and I-80. Also, if you are up in Syracuse and Clearfield, a couple of the city streets there have a little bit of extra congestion, but nothing out of the ordinary. Is the IRS harassing you? Are tax problems ruining your life? Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox help. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather will have clouds through much of the week. I think the only clear day looks like Thursday right now. But no chance of snow, really, with slight chance today and tomorrow of rain. It's so warm. Highs in the 40s all week long. But right now it is partly cloudy and 30 degrees at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
I've been waiting all weekend to talk about this. This is the worst part of the weekend, especially when a real juicy story happens, and I'm just sitting on my hands like, I can't talk about this until Monday. Well, it is Monday, and I get to talk about this. It was a shocking testimony to Congress, in front of Congress. 3 university presidents were invited to testify in front of Congress regarding their campus policies regarding free speech, specifically the pro-Palestinian protests.
Mm-hmm. And Congressman Burgess from Utah, obviously, was on that committee, questioned the 3 university presidents, actually had a very good exchange with the Penn State president, and really laid into her specifically about their decisions at the university level on specifically, in this regard, pro-Palestine, but free speech generally.
So I'm going to play some big chunks. And the 3 university presidents are from the most prestigious universities in the world: Harvard, MIT, Penn. So let me start off with MIT's president, and Elise Stefanik was questioning. And it was a pretty simple question about some of the protests. Some of the protests on these campuses had talked about removing the Israeli state from the river to the sea. I mean, so she was asking specifically about what could be considered a call for genocide. So this was what Representative Stefanik asked Sally Kornbluth, who's the president of MIT.
Dr. Kornbluth, at MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Okay. So if you're scratching your head a little bit, a pretty simple question. Do you the little bit of meandering around, kind of maybe choosing words carefully? All right, so let's set MIT aside. Let's go to Penn University, where the president, Liz McGill, was asked the same question.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
It can be harassment. I won't play you Harvard's response because it was nearly identical to the other two. And they were all sitting next to each other, each university president, basically repeating almost verbatim to that question.
Gosh, such an interesting back and forth with the members of Congress on this panel. Those three definitely prepared by their legal counsel on their responses, but never, ever once answered the question directly. And that's what the Congresswoman's really angst was about.
And there's some trickiness and there's some subtlety to this conversation that gets kind of blown out of the water with such direct questioning, right? Because I think when we're talking about protests on campus, and what we allow in free speech, it's not as black and white, I think, as Representative
Certainly not.
Stefanik was saying. Because, listen, we want. I am. Elon Musk says I'm a free speech absolutist. I would probably consider myself more of an absolutist than not. But to say, okay, is it bullying and harassment? Well,
when does it cross the line?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're narrowing it down to just bullying and harassment, it seems like a pretty easy answer.
Right.
If you're saying,
and that's what got me, Dave, is that none of the three presidents could answer that question. At what point does it cross the line? Now, you saw here at the University of Utah when that group came in and stopped the
Mecha, yeah.
Mecha, yeah. They've been filed with charges, right? 9 of them. I don't know what the charges are necessarily are going to be, some sort of misdemeanor, but that they crossed the line, and so repercussions came. And these three presidents did not answer that question, leading to the Penn State president Liz McGill's resignation yesterday.
Yeah, and there was a lot of pressure after, and she actually made a video, and I want to play this little portion of a video she made afterwards, and it was an apology, yes, but she was trying to add some perspective. So she was starting to feel the backlash. Obviously, some high-priced or high-end donors had threatened to pull huge amounts of money, and this was President McGill's apology.
There was a moment during yesterday's congressional hearing on anti-Semitism when I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate.
That seems like a really good answer.
Mm-hmm.
That probably should have been said a couple days before.
Well, it probably could have saved her job and many donations from donors. I will note for our listeners, the Huntsman family actually the foundation pulled out of Penn State. They dropped their donation. Long-standing history with Penn State and that family, and unfortunate for the university that big donor pulled out.
Well, Stone Ridge asset manager Ross Stevens threatened to pull his $100 million donation as well. And sure enough, President McGill felt the pressure, ended up resigning. Now there are calls for Harvard and MIT's president to resign as well. When we come back, how does Utah handle this? Mm-hmm. How are they trying to balance the free speech and the ability for students to speak against or for whatever they want to? But how do you find that balance of crossing the line into bullying and harassment? Well, we'll talk to, I'm trying to remember the title.
Landward.
He's the interim commissioner of higher ed. So it's Jeff Landward. He's going to join us and tell us, okay, what is Utah doing to protect free speech, but also not to put university presidents in a terrible situation?
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're expanding Dave and Dujanovic on KSL.
Now they'll be live on Fridays.
Starting in January, hear Dave and Debbie at 9 and the movie show at 11.
Finally, Friday on KSL News Radio.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. A computer can be one of the best holiday gifts imaginable. It can bring such joy and happiness. Have you ever had a computer problem and had to call Chumbawamba for service? Then you're placed on hold forever. Finally, when someone in Chumbawamba answers the phone, they tell you that your on-site warranty is some delivery guy picking up your computer and that you have to wait 2 months for them to tell you that your software problem isn't covered. You end up paying a huge bill, and on top of that, when you get your computer back, all your pictures and data are gone. That's brain damage. Avoid that pain this holiday season and just get into PC Laptops, where we give you a lifetime service guarantee for free on any PC Laptops computer. Now that's comfort and peace of mind. Oh yeah, we're doing 0 down, 0 interest until 2025 OAC. So check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com, where we love you.
It's not too late to save big on your holiday carpet cleanings. The Zero Res holiday sale ends Tuesday. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and pay just $25 per room. That's right, the $25 deal is back just in time for your holiday cleaning. Zero Res is the only no residue carpet cleaner in the area. With their ZR water, there's no soaps, no shampoos, and with no residue left behind, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Plus, with a no residue cleaning, you don't have to worry about any nasty chemicals left behind either. For carpets, ducts, tile, furniture, and more, Zero Res is the right way to clean. And if you've been waiting to get cleaned up for the holidays, this is the sale you've been waiting for. $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Sale ends Tuesday. Must schedule Monday or Tuesday, and you must clean before the new year. You don't have to clean today, but you do have to get on the schedule. Call Zero Res right now or jump online to schedule. $25 per room. Minimums apply. Zero Res, from Nephi to Ogden and everywhere in between. Online at zerores.com.
At Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital, we made a bold promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Join us in realizing our vision for the future of pediatric care. So together, we can expand primary children's impact and ensure every child has access to the right care at the right place at the right time. For a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Help us continue to do so for the next 100 years. To get involved, visit primarypromise.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Did you know 96% of Americans lose an average of $111,000 in Social Security income? And it's because they claim their benefits at the wrong time. Don't lose $111,000 in Social Security income that's rightfully yours. Learn how you could wring every nickel out of your benefits on Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL, News Radio 1027.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, the St. George Temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been rededicated. Second, the Voice of Music and the Spoken Word and other Tabernacle Choir events is stepping down to serve a mission. And third, volunteers showed up in Salt Lake City's Granary District Sunday to help package medical supplies that will be shipped to hospitals in the Gaza Strip. Right now, it's 30 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
3 of the most prestigious universities in the entire country, MIT, Penn, Harvard. All of their presidents were invited to speak before Congress, specifically about protests that were being held on their campuses. They were primarily pro-Palestinian protests, anti-Israeli Gaza war, calling for ceasefires. Anyway, in these moments, a lot of times we would hear in the protests calls for what some would describe as genocide. Now, the actual word is intifada. So some of it is couched. It's not like as overt as saying kill all the Jews, right? It's not that overt, but there are references to genocide. And obviously, for very, very good reasons, there's a great sensitivity, as there should be, to that kind of rhetoric, especially toward the Jewish people. So Congress invited these presidents to come and ask, okay, is this bullying and harassment, and does this violate your campus policies in your protests?
Right. And Dave, I'll just note, when you get invited to testify in Congress, it's not an invitation. It's more of a demand.
That's true.
They did not really they couldn't have said no to this invitation.
Yeah, you have to show up, and the questioning oftentimes is pretty unremarkable, right? I mean, this kind of flies under the radar. But the 3 presidents, Sally Kornbluth of MIT, Les McGill of Penn, and then Claudine Gay of Harvard, were asked basically the same questions of, is this bullying and harassment? This is a little bit of the interaction between Penn President Liz McGill and Representative Elise Stefanik.
Yes. I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context.
If the
yes
speech
or no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
That was one of the worst answers you could possibly give.
Yeah. Just a no-win situation for that president in the way she answered it, and actually cost her job.
Joining us right now, Jeff Landward is the interim commissioner of higher ed. And Jeff, thanks for joining us. I'm just fascinated. This was a really difficult situation, I think, for university presidents to be put in. They want to protect free speech on their campus, but at the same time, you want to protect your students from feeling intimidated, harassed. What is Utah doing, and what would you recommend in higher ed? How do you handle these protests?
Well, thank you for having me today. It's a real pleasure to be with you and discussing what I think is one of the most difficult and complex issues facing higher education today. And I think your questions are valid. We all listened with real interest in this exchange at Congress, and it is so incredibly difficult. But let me start with what we're doing in Utah. Utah and our system of higher education, in particular, our public institutions, we have a strong commitment to the First Amendment, and what we refer to as the marketplace of ideas. And what we mean by that is this is a place where, meaning our campuses, where people can come with their viewpoints, with their ideas. Oftentimes those ideas conflict, but that they can freely express those ideas to each other, and that you're exposed to the different types of viewpoints, the different types of ideas, and that you're able to debate those, you're able to confront those ideas, you're able to consider them, you're able to maybe speak out against them. And the idea is that debate, that scrutiny, that ability to test those ideas in this marketplace determines the merits of those ideas, because they have to withstand that scrutiny. They have to be able to withstand the questions, withstand the inspection of others saying, I don't think your ideas hold up and here is why. And you have to be able to defend that. And that's what we want to see on our campuses. That's traditionally what we've tried to protect on our campuses. What gets difficult is when that speech crosses the line. And that's what the Penn State president was trying to articulate, and she didn't do it very well. Because there is a difference between speech and conduct, first of all. I think that's very important. And so recently, we wanted to make sure that our institutions and our system of higher education, but more importantly, the members of our campus communities understood where the state of Utah stood on free expression on campus. And so over the last few months, the Board of Higher Education, which is the governing board, has issued 2 resolutions. The first articulated very basic principles of free speech and stated unequivocally that our campuses are a place where we're going to protect free speech. We're going to protect individuals to be able to express that. But we also wanted people to know that doesn't mean that you can interfere with another's speech. You can't shout down speakers. You can't interrupt speakers. You can't threaten people. You can't harass people. You can't discriminate against people. Those kind of things that aren't protected by the Constitution. The second one we issued just a couple of weeks ago. This was a lot more specific, and it did a couple of things. The first thing it did was said to the institutions, we want to see how you're implementing these principles of free speech. What do your policies look like? What do your policies look like when you do have threats of violence on your campus? What do policies look like when you do have people interfering with another's expression of speech? What does this look like when you have people who are shouting down speakers or blocking their ability to enter into a forum? And also, when is it appropriate for an institution as the entity itself? Now, I want to make sure this is clear. We're not talking about the faculty, the students, the staff, or individuals on the campus being able to speak freely as individuals. We're talking about the institution taking a position on a social, political, or unsettled issue. When is that appropriate? And what we wanted to state was, in most cases, institutions should be neutral. They're the forum for the debate. They're not a participant in the debate. So that second resolution did that. We're hoping that by articulating these principles and making clear what the institution's role is in free speech, that people can better understand how it functions and what they can expect when they come to our campuses.
I love having this conversation. Jeff Landward, who's the interim commissioner of higher education, as we discuss how universities here in Utah are trying to balance the free speech and also protests that might be happening on their campus that cross the lines, as many have felt that these protests across the country, the pro-Palestine protests have done. Jeff Landward, thank you for joining us from the higher education. You're the commissioner of the higher ed.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Longtime host for the Music and the Spoken Word broadcast featuring the Tabernacle Choir of Temple Square says he'll step aside next year. Lloyd Newell's voice has been heard over the radio and television for more than 3 decades.
Audiences around the world love the imaginative story, the unforgettable musical score by Tchaikovsky, and the fanciful choreography and sets.
Newell and his wife will be serving as a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Customers crowded into the Riverdale Denny's restaurant yesterday to raise money for a worker who was hit by a truck. KSL.com reports the manager, Brenda Owens, says she was left in tears by the support from the community. Victoria Tibbetts, 19 years old, recovering in the hospital. Her sister says she's doing much better. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. UN officials warn of a growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with hundreds of thousands of civilians scared that they'll be caught in the crossfire as the fighting continues. ABC's James Longman is in Israel with more.
Israel says it shifted its focus to southern Gaza. The battles in the north of the Strip are still raging. 104 IDF soldiers have now been killed in this ground operation, Hamas proving difficult to uproot from northern neighborhoods. Despite the offensive, Hamas still able to launch rockets. We saw Iron Dome intercepts over Tel Aviv this morning.
That's ABC's James Longman. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 85 points, but the NASDAQ is taking a negative turn, down 48 points right now. And our KSL weather, it looks like we're going to see very little in the way of rain or snow coming up in the next week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
You know, Deb, I'm a huge DIY guy, but one thing I'm not going to touch is electrical.
I've got the answer for you. You have to call Master Electrical. They have what's called upfront pricing. You know how bids can be a guessing game, and the longer an expert's in your home, the bigger the bill is? Not with Master Electrical. This upfront pricing is amazing.
Yeah, their pricing system won't even allow them to go higher.
They do everything that has to do with electrical. You need lights? Call Master Electrical. Ceiling fans, smoke detectors, generators, batteries, even EV chargers.
And all that pricing is upfront, and it's a guarantee.
Master Electrical proudly serves from Logan to Santaquin.
And they're always open, so if you have some emergency, they're there. So give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Or you can check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Do it today.
Guys, does she need a little escape this year? Introducing Cozy Escape Pajamas from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts. These PJs are just the getaway she needs. So take that time off and plan a holiday staycation. Cozy Escape Pajamas make the perfect gift for your special someone who deserves a little rest and relaxation. Treat her to luxurious next-level cozy signature soft fleece. They're as light as a dream and will keep her oh so warm, like snuggling in her favorite blanket. She'll love to cuddle in Cozy Escape PJs on those extra chilly nights. With Pajamagram, you can even add gift packaging. Order now for guaranteed delivery by Christmas. She's missed out on a lot of things she loves this year, so this Christmas, give her the escape she deserves. These new PJs are selling fast, so order today. Go to pajamagram.com right now. That's pajamagram.com to order Cozy Escape Pajamas. Pajamagram.com.
Cypress checking account members enjoy discounted rates on auto and RV loans, free access to credit scores reports, and other products and perks. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Cypress Credit Union. Your future is our future.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Things are moving along very well all across the Wasatch Front. If you're sticking to the freeways, no problems on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, or I-80 through Parley's Canyon. We have a little bit of congestion on a few of the city streets, and there's a report of a crash on Redwood Road southbound, right in between North Temple and the ramps to I-80. I am seeing some slowdowns in that area, so you just want to use a little bit of caution. The Zero Res holiday sale is on now. Just $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Schedule Monday or Tuesday and clean before the new year. Schedule today online at zerores.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a low-pressure system will help avoid inversions over the next few days. Even though we're not expecting rain or snow, our weather should be dry through the next week, highs in the 40s. And right now, 34 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I was reading an article from the Associated Press, and it said President Joe Biden goes into next year's election with a vexing challenge. Just as the U.S. economy is getting stronger, people are still feeling horrible about it. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, that is exactly how I feel. You know, just Dave Noriega, just a guy trying to pay a mortgage.
Buy some groceries.
Buy some groceries. Maybe put a little gas in the tank every once in a while. Sure, I keep hearing all the jobs reports are good. Economy is up. Maybe the soft landing actually happened. Like, yeah, but I'm still strapped. Mm-hmm. I don't feel great about the financial situation.
Yeah, it's different than it was 3 years ago. It's absolutely tighter. I feel it most at the grocery store. I said to you earlier in the beginning of the show, gas is below $3 now, which is great. It's right in your face. You could see it, but I'm not feeling it everywhere else.
No, and you look at the mortgage rates. Mm-hmm. You look at the car rates. You look at the cost of even a used car or a new car, and what has changed over the last several years. This is why I think people still feel horrible about it. And Natalie Gochner joins us right now, director of the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute. That's at the University of Utah. Also serves as the chief economist for the Salt Lake Chamber. Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be with you, Dave and Abby, although you guys are depressing me. What's with that?
I'm sorry. It's the Christmas season. Everyone, go spend. Just spend.
And people are spending. It's crazy. They're out there. They're spending money.
Okay, can you walk through a little bit, what's the actual health of the economy, and why do people feel maybe not as optimistic?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at just the raw numbers, start with unemployment rate. U.S. unemployment rate at 3.7%, Utah's at 2.7%. These are very low numbers. If you look at job growth, Utah growing at about 2.2%, the nation growing at 1.9%. Again, very healthy numbers. I think the U.S. will finish 2023 with a 2.5% real GDP number. Those are all strong, good numbers. And so, yes, people feel stresses. I think a lot of that is related to our still, reaction to the unwinding of a pandemic. But the economy's raw numbers look quite good.
Natalie, do you see, you just kind of alluded to it, but we're coming off the pandemic, right? And most people in the state got some sort of check from the federal government. Or from the state, right? Rent or something from the state. Do you think because of that extra money, I'm giving you air quotes through the radio, but do you think from that extra money and people not having it now, that's where they're feeling it? Or do you think it's really in prices?
Yeah, well, we were flush with cash during the pandemic. Let's be clear. And I'll just speak to the federal government, but the stimulus package was about 25% of GDP during the pandemic. That's extraordinary. It's too much. And it's really what led to a lot of the inflationary pressures that we felt. And so, Abby, maybe that's a good theory on your part that we had this cash and money, but we also, had things shut down. And I don't want to go back to that by any means. I think that consumers are reacting to a lot of things. First, it's really, unsettling to have a war in Israel and in Gaza. It's really unsettling to have the Russian war taking place. The risks when we see, gas prices are down right now, but then they'll go up. There's a lot of volatility in our commodity prices right now because of these shocks in the economic system. And so, I think that's very unsettling for people. And what I would encourage people to do is first, if you're in Utah, just remember that we outperform most states most of the time. And so this is a great place to be doing business, and it's a great place to support households and find gainful employment. But secondly, I would say we've been through, we had inflation as high as 9% in summer of 2022. It stands at 3.2% today. So we're on a positive track, and I think consumers should feel better than the indicators show.
Natalie Gochner is the chief economist for the Salt Lake Chamber. And as we're having this discussion about why the U.S. economy very clearly is doing well, but people still feel horrible about it, I think in part, Natalie, for me, is when we talk about inflation, and I think the new inflation numbers are going to be released probably tomorrow, and then the Fed interest rates, they release theirs probably the next day. But the thing that really gives me a lot of consternation is the fact that all this inflation that you're talking about, the 9%, a little over a year ago, the 3% currently that we have, is that inflation can set a new price point, which tells me that some of these things that have been inflated, or especially over the last year or two, these prices aren't coming down. That's the very definition of inflation, is your dollar is no longer worth what it used to be. And I think that new price point, that new set point, is what has me so pessimistic about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave, I can see why it's discouraging. I will remind listeners, though, that wage gains in the past year have been outpacing inflation for the entire year. So even as your price point changes, so does your wage levels, and that's just part of how, economies work. And, and then the other thing I would remind people, the big part of inflation comes from shelter. Now, if you don't have a home or if you're a renter, you're feeling the pressures. But for many who own their homes, they haven't felt any kind of increase in the cost of shelter. In fact, their wealth has only ballooned during this time of high housing price appreciation. So there's a lot of complexity of who's benefiting, who's not. No question we have challenges we need to address, but I would remind consumers that we've been through a lot, but we have not had a recession. And we've got plans in place that can, keep our economy strong moving forward.
Natalie, that's absolutely going to be my next question, is that recession word, right? We've been on the verge of it. We've been talking about it for really the better part of the last 12 months. It doesn't feel like we're going to get there, but there are still national economists that say it's on the horizon. This 2024 election will determine whether or not we go into a recession. What do you say to that as our chief economist here in the state?
Well, what I would say, there's plenty of risks on the horizon. I think the oil price volatility concerns me. I think the Fed could still misstep. I hope they don't. There's banking system stress. And then, of course, the geopolitical things happening around the globe are, very unsettling. But we have avoided a recession to date. What we haven't avoided is the costs of more expensive money. As the Fed has raised interest rates to combat inflation, we have had an end of the era of easy money, and that changes economic dynamics for every business in the state. And the current forecast, Abby, is that rates will be higher for longer. And so the Fed meets this week. We'll know on Wednesday whether they're going to hold interest rates again. That would be their third consecutive time, or whether they're going to raise or decrease them. My best guess is that they hold, and that we'll be in this sort of tight money environment moving into the summer.
I love how you phrase that, the easy money that was out there. And you look back over the last couple of years when interest rates were 2.5%, 3.5% for a home loan. It felt like easy money. Natalie Gochner, thank you so much for joining us. You know what? You brought a little brightness to the show, a little optimism. I appreciate it because, it's very easy, Abby, to kind of get sucked into the negativity of it. But yeah, the news that wage gains here in Utah specifically have outpaced inflation, that's great news.
Very good to hear.
Natalie Gogner, thank you again for joining us. When we come back, this is something that we haven't touched on a lot recently because I quite honestly, I wasn't quite sure where we were at in this state, but where do things lie for transgender athletes competing here in Utah? Let's check in with the lawmaker next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Treat yourself to the depth and analysis on Inside Sources.
Floyd Matheson goes beyond the headlines of the biggest stories.
Listen to Inside Sources from 1 to 3
on KSL News Radio.
The BYU Cougars are on a roll.
For 3 right corner. That's good!
Wednesday, BYU plays Denver. Make sure you're streaming the nationally ranked Cougars on the KSL News Radio app. BYU, Denver. Pregame Wednesday at 6 and tip-off at 7 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
One of the reasons I don't eat well is because I'm lazy. I like good food. I like healthy food. Like, I'm one of the weird guys that actually will eat a Brussels sprout and say, you know what? That was okay. No one loves Brussels sprouts. I get that. But you know what? Eating healthy is more of a convenience thing for me, and it was just so much easier to run through the drive-thru. Well, Fed Up Kitchen wants to help you with that very problem. And it's a healthy meal prep service where they provide you healthy, delicious, ready-to-eat meals. It's going to keep you full and satisfied. I've totally experienced that, where I felt full and satisfied after eating some of their delicious chicken corn chowder or the turkey chili cheese fries. Trust me, I did not expect healthy eating to include turkey chili cheese fries, but sure enough, they had that. It was delicious. But you can order online, pick up the next day. They'll even deliver it to you as well. No cooking required. All it is heat and eat. It can be cheaper than, dashing through the fast food drive-thru. It certainly tastes healthier. Gluten-free, macro-friendly, high in protein, low in carbs. Again, all you have to do is go to fedupkitchen.com to learn more. fedupkitchen.com.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This time of year can be a lot, and it's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it. But adding something new and positive to your life can counteract some of those feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and change. Something to look forward to make you feel grounded, and to give you the tools to manage everything going on. Learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Salt Lake today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Salt Lake, and get 10% off your first month.
Where the steepest terrain meets the deepest snow, Snowbird is for the dedicated, those who seek a mountain experience beyond the greens, blues, and black diamonds. Averaging 500 inches of dry and light powder, unmatched steeps, and endless acres to explore. Snowbird is Utah's top powder getaway. Now with a Snowbird and Save lodging discount, receive 20% off on lift tickets, rentals, fast tracks, and more. When you stay slopeside at Snowbird, elevate your adventure with next-level lodging and skiing this season by visiting snowbird.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think.
All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the narrator of thousands of music and the spoken word programs with the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square is stepping down to serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Second, customers crowded into a Denny's restaurant in Riverdale to support a worker who was hit by a truck. Victoria Tibbetts reportedly doing much better. And third, fighting continues in Gaza between Israel and Hamas, with civilians worried they'll be caught in the crossfire. Right now, 34 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So there's transgender athletes is a conversation that's happening across the country, and states are trying to figure out exactly how to handle it, if they play a role in it, and when we talk about, and this is specifically trans females that are trying to compete in women's sports or girls' sports on a high school level. I think we're specifically speaking to this. Abby Osborne, by the way, is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic. And Abby, let me just tell you from my perspective, I have conflicting feelings on this entire topic. I am a high school coach. I've been a sports coach for
Girls
years.
coach.
Girls coach specifically. I've coached boys as well, but in high school, I was a high school softball coach. And I'll tell you this, I love when kids participate in sports.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it gives them belonging, focus, a physical outlet, camaraderie. I love when kids play sports. I'm a huge supporter of this. And when we're talking about transgender athletes, if they're looking for a place to compete and to be a part of a team, I support that, and I want to facilitate that. I also have concerns about safety.
Sure.
Because there are biological differences that cannot be mitigated, in my experience, by hormone therapy. Maybe lessened, but not completely mitigated. So I think as we have this conversation, with that kind of understanding and moving forward to see what Utah is doing, Kara Birkeland, representative, joins us right now. And I think you've tried to address this here in the state of Utah. There was a law that was passed that prohibited transgender females from participating in women's sports or girls' sports at the high school level. And then there was a lawsuit that put a stay on this. Where are we at? Did I set it up? Did I miss anything big, Representative?
No, you covered it quite well. I appreciate that very much.
The only thing that I would add is that the commission part of her legislation, Representative Birkeland's legislation, was not stayed. So that is in effect, and that is where transgender female athletes can go to seek approval based on science to be able to participate. And so that section of her bill from a few years ago is actually law, and the other section of the ban on the athletes is in the court process. And Kara, we really appreciate you joining us, Representative. Excuse me, I'm a little
okay.
Loose with your title, and I want to make sure that I get that. But Dave actually set it up very nicely, the way you've always shown compassion, that you are a coach yourself and a referee, and you want these students, anyone, to participate in sports. It's just where and when.
No, that's exactly right. And I'll just add that the commission is relevant to both transgender males and transgender females, because there will be a young lady who transitions to male, and it might not be safe for her at that point, to go participate on an athletic team if this youth is in the process of transitioning from woman to male, female to man. He shouldn't necessarily be on the boys' teams, because biologically this young man still has the body mass and everything of a girl. And so we're really looking at it from a safety standpoint, as well as a competitive advantage standpoint.
How has the commission worked so far? Again, when this law was stayed, the ban was stayed, but the commission took place where a student would basically petition, say, I want to participate. What does the commission take into account when the student comes before this commission?
So we've had a number of athletes that have gone through the commission. To my knowledge, I think there's maybe 4. I try not to get too involved in their work because it's separate from what I do in the House of Representatives. But the legislation policy was designed to say you're going to look at, their height, their weight, whatever we can look at that is depending on that sport. Obviously for golf, it's very different versus volleyball. Height is a huge advantage in volleyball. It might not necessarily be the biggest advantage for golf. And so the commission is made up of people that can really individualize what they want to participate in and if there's a safety concern or a physical advantage to them. And then it puts the responsibility and also the opportunity onto the transgender athlete or his or her family to bring forth the information that they're comfortable. So we don't tell them what information they must provide. We just tell them to provide the information that would help the commission make the best decision as regards to safety and competitive advantage.
Representative Birkeland, so nationally this issue is pretty much everywhere, as Dave led into this segment. In Illinois just last week, the female the girls cyclist first and second place were actually transgender females. And obviously in cycling, probably not, it's not a hand-to-hand combat sport, but there is physical advantages for the male over the female in that particular sport. So would those males have gone through the commission to be allowed in Utah? Obviously it didn't happen in Illinois, but in the case of Utah, would they have gone through the commission and then that professional group of commissioners would have determined whether or not they could have participated?
Well, actually, so in Utah, we don't have a cycling Utah High School Activity Association doesn't have a cycling category. There's mountain biking in the state of Utah, but that is an interscholastic activity. And so any kind of bicycle race of any type, mountain bike, road bike, it would be interscholastic, which doesn't fall under the commission because it's not sanctioned by the Activity Association. Gotcha. So that's where it would be a little bit different in Utah. They wouldn't have to go through the commission in the state of Utah for any type of cycling race. But typically, like anything that is sanctioned by the Utah High School Activity Association, yes, they would, to follow the law accurately, they would need to identify themselves as being a transgender student, and then they'd go through the commission.
I think you referenced it, said that this is not common. Although this is a very hot button topic nationally, and there's a lot of opinions on it, this doesn't happen very often. And you mentioned maybe 4 or so kids have gone before the commission. Can you tell me, have any been approved to participate in sports that you know of?
To my knowledge, not any of the kids that I'm aware of. And I only know of them if the family reaches out to me and lets me know. But that to my, or I have read an article. Some of them I only know because the news media got reached out to by the family. And so I know from those articles. And so to my knowledge, none of the 4 that have gone through the commission have been approved.
Does it concern you at all that none have been approved?
No, I think the commission is designed to make sure that there is not a safety or competitive advantage for these students to participate. And I don't know the gender at birth for the students who participated. I don't know if they were transgender girls or transgender boys. And like I said, they could have been a transgender boy. So this is a girl at birth, and it wouldn't have been safe for, this now young man to compete in an activity where, his body structure is just can't keep up with boys. So I don't know the specifics. I'm not privileged to that, and I frankly don't feel I need to be. So I think that's the commission, I believe, is made up of really experts in this area, and so they can decide what's going to be best, better than I can.
Yeah, and I think for our listeners to understand, part of the reason we don't know specifics is these are kids, these are minors, and the information, unless it is brought forth or given to us by and with permission from the parents, we don't typically know a great amount of detail. So we appreciate you joining us, Representative Birkeland. Thank you for the update. When we come back, let's discuss. Let's go back to the universities, but not about policies. Let's talk about student debt. Should universities, and here's kind of a wild concept, should universities be responsible for student debt? If all of a sudden you can't pay your bills, the job that you got out of college isn't cutting it, should the university be responsible for that? Well, Ron DeSantis thinks so.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: the St. George Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was rededicated yesterday. Acting president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, Jeffrey R. Holland, led the dedication, shared his thoughts with KSL TV.
These temples are being built for very large numbers of people to be having their temple experiences and making those covenants and changing the history of the world.
The St. George Temple first dedicated in 1877. A family of 9 was forced out of their home because of a fire in Eagle Mountain over the weekend. The fire started Sunday afternoon. Most of the damage was in the garage. Fire crews were able to keep the home from being a total loss, and everyone got out safely. Family lives near Cedar Trail Way. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the defamation case against former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani by 2 former Georgia poll workers moves forward today. ABC's Catherine Faulders has more.
What's at stake is how much money in damages Giuliani will ultimately have to pay. They're seeking damages up to $43 million, so that's what this trial will determine, how much money Giuliani has to pay. We're in the jury selection phase. This is likely to be a short trial. Attorneys for Moss and Freeman said that they believe their case will last 2 to 3 days. It's likely this could be all wrapped up by the end of the week.
ABC's Catherine Faulders. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average up on the day, 63 points right now, while the NASDAQ is down 22. And our KSL weather: we've got enough air movement that we're not going to build up an inversion this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, and no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have the power when you need it most. Generac generators automatically provide backup after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Schedule a free quote today with Genco Generators, your premier Generac service dealer in Utah. Call 801-295-0872 or online at gencogenerators.net.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we're still accident-free all across the Wasatch Front. No problems right now on I-15, the east or west side belt routes, or the 201 freeway. We did have an accident reported early on Redwood Road, right around 200 South, but I haven't seen any issues from that, at least on the cameras. And you've got good speeds if you want to go through the mountains on I-80, I-84, or Provo Canyon. Join the Utah Symphony for the greatest classical hits from the 1700s to today. Tickets start at $21. Get yours today at utahsymphony.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, low pressure system will help avoid inversions over the next few days. Even though we're not expecting rain or snow, our weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, 37 degrees, partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Welcome to the show, Dave Noriega, and filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today is Abby Osborne, who you hear on KSL at night, one of our hosts there. Also, the day job, though, Chief of Staff at the Utah State House of Representatives.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
This is fantastic. This is the first time we've done a show together.
It's great. I made it halfway, Dave.
Okay. I figure 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden the caffeine needs to get a little extra jolt.
Okay.
Just a little extra Diet Coke. The final hour will be a breeze. But okay, I've never had this conversation with you. So in fact, we didn't even talk about it in our show prep.
No, we're totally going for it.
I have no idea what you're going to say. I have no idea where you land. Let's talk about universities.
Okay.
Let's talk about degrees, and let's talk about student debt. Now, if you're a regular listener of the show, folks, I'll just remind you where I land. I have become so disenchanted with universities, the degrees that are available, and the return on investment. So I'll just put that right out there. And as my kids are going to college right now, and they're going to college, so some of it might sound hypocritical. I just challenge them. I tell them, okay, well, you make sure whatever degree you're getting in, make sure the job you're getting is worth it,
right?
And pays well.
Right.
So let's talk about student loan debt. Student loan debt obviously has been a huge debate here in this nation. Ron DeSantis suggested a solution to the student loan crisis. You know, President Biden has wanted to erase either a portion or all of student loan debt. And Ron DeSantis said, well, instead of just wiping it clean, how about this?
Think of all the people that had 4-year degree in zombie studies with $100,000 in debt, and then they end up in a job they could have at a high school.
So he's saying, first of all, let's get rid of the zombie studies degree. I mean, there's no zombie studies, but he's making a point like, let's get rid of the degrees that don't have a direct correlation to earnings.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, but now to put a little pressure and maybe put a little skin in the game for universities, how about this?
But at the universities, they should be responsible for defaulted student loan debt. If you produce somebody that can't pay it back, that's on you, and you should have to do that, and we'll get that done.
Okay, that was what he's been saying in his campaign.
It's a great soundbite.
It is a little bit of a great soundbite.
Not really based in reality, but it's a great soundbite.
Okay, so is there anything? First of all, let me just get your initial reactions to the idea of universities. Let's say the University of Utah having to pay for your student loan debt if your job just doesn't cut it.
Can I give you a little bit of personal anecdote here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have 2 older kids, both in a higher ed one just graduated with a 4-year degree.
Okay.
One is
Can I ask in what?
Marketing and communications.
Okay.
The other one is in a trade school, going through trade school, learning to be a welder.
Okay.
Getting paid to go to school. The other one, not a job yet. So I get it. I get it on a personal level too, right? Like he found the one that's in trade school found something that he's really passionate about and is making it work. Really making it work. And I wish more of our students understood that. They were told before they got into this $40,000 debt, $50,000 debt, sometimes $100,000 debt. I don't think we could get that high in Utah.
Right.
Fortunately, our tuitions are
at least in state, right?
Yes, exactly. But I wish our students understood the reap and reward there.
Okay, how much pressure? This is really diving into the family dynamics.
Okay.
Was
my husband's listening right now, so
how much pressure was there for your kids to go to college, or was this like all on them, or was there an expectation that hey, once you graduate, yeah, we're doing college?
Once you graduate, you have to do something, right? Like we're super behind our son going to the trade school. We knew that was more his niche, and he is loving it and thriving. And I love to see that he's loving it and thriving. And he's going to have a really good paying job coming out of this because he's going to have a skill set. Right. And, I saw some of the classes she took, and they weren't really relevant to the real world. And I took them too. I got the 4-year degree and got the classes that, had to take the classes that weren't really relevant to the real world. And that's the unfortunate part. And that's where I think higher ed could do so much better. We could get 3-year degrees, Dave.
Oh, no
we
question.
Could absolutely. There's no reason why our teachers need to go to school for 5+ years to get a teaching degree. They could be learning their cores, getting into the classroom and learning the core value or the core teaching of teaching, and then getting into it really fast. 3 years.
Yeah.
I think we could do better with that at our higher ed institutions.
Do you think there's the fact that there's almost a disincentive for universities to get you through quickly, right? The longer you are a student and you're paying into it and you're paying your tuitions and your fees, where's the incentive to get your student through in 3 years?
You're absolutely right. And I would say there's a disincentive to get us through high school, right? The schools get that extra year. Senior year is sometimes really kind of
I've got
joke.
A senior right now. His schedule is a joke.
Yeah. But we're keeping them in because there's
another
year for the schools.
Weighted pupil unit.
Yep. And I think we do a disservice to the society and to our kids when we don't try to fast track this and get them onto a path that is going to be best for them and best for our economy at large.
So kids go to college. They take out student loans. And let's just be very clear, student loans are the easiest loan you'll ever get.
Anyone can get them.
Anyone can get them. It doesn't matter. You don't need to prove that you have a job. Anyone can get them. They write you the check. It's super easy to get you. In fact, you can actually they ask you basically, how much money do you want? And then you tell them, I mean, up to a certain degree, but do you want to take out $4,000 or $11,000? There's no hey, justify why you want to take out $11,000.
Right. Or here's going to be your payment schedule, and you're going to need to make a minimum of X to pay this back.
Yes.
We do not do that. We do not teach them that at all.
No. Okay, so going back to Ron DeSantis' comment of, okay, how do we address this? How do we address this weird incentive that we've given universities to keep people in college as long as possible?
But at the universities, they should be responsible for defaulted student loan debt. If you produce somebody that can't pay it back, that's on you, and you should have to do that, and we'll get that done.
So what do you make of the idea that universities should be responsible for defaulted student loan debt?
I don't know how you actually enforce that from statutorial position. I don't know.
This
I mean,
is the chief of staff coming out of you. You're like, let me practically think of how to
get from A to B without going C, D, E, F, G. I just don't. It's a great soundbite, Dave. I don't know how he's going to do that. I mean, universities do have endowments, and I think that's where we're going to go next to listen to Leland Verdict from News Nation as he makes his point on endowments. But I don't know how, when DeSantis says make universities pay for it, I don't know how, logically, I don't know how you get there.
How do you make it work? All right, we're going to explore some of these ideas because something has to be done. I think we absolutely need to hold universities responsible, number one, for the degrees that they're offering, the return on investment, the job placement. These are things that we're just assuming happens. Like once you get your degree, then you go get a job, you're going to make more money in that job. We just assume that's going to happen when we're seeing that is not a rubber stamp to success anymore. When we come back.
Dave and Dujanovic.
2 new reasons to drop in on KSL on Friday mornings.
Starting in January, you'll hear Dave and Debbie Fridays at 9.
And hear the movie show at lunch from 11 to 1.
On KSL News Radio.
You know, I'm not seeing a lot of snow on the ground right now, but obviously we got some ski resorts that are open right now, and we love skiing in our family. But the one thing we don't love about the winter is the dry skin that it brings. As soon as that season changes, as soon as the snow hits the ground, we just have to bathe in lotion in our family. It's really the reason we decided to call Connecticut of Utah and say, hey guys, can you come out? I know that soft water helps skin, helps keep it hydrated and soft. Will you show us the difference it makes? And they said, oh, absolutely. You can tell by the very first time you take a shower when you have soft water. And we had hard water for probably 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10 years, and it was just brutal on our skin. And sure enough, when Connecticut installed that water softener, we have loved having that. It made such a huge difference, but it wasn't just for the soft skin. It was great for laundry and dishes and the expensive appliances. Anything that the water is running through, hard water corrodes. It leaves a scum on your showers. Feels like you've got to take a jackhammer to get that scum off with the hard water stains. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your home, making that investment, give Connecticut of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Merry Christmas, honey.
A Bernina embroidery machine? It's wonderful.
Bernina products are wonderful Christmas gifts that you'll love and use. Take advantage of these holiday specials at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Save thousands of dollars on world-famous Bernina sewing machines, such as the B700E for $2,999, the B500E $1,999, and get a free $2,000 embroidery module when you purchase the 770 Cafe machine.
48 months, no interest on certain machines.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
25% off all Bernina luggage, embroidery hoops, and presser feet.
Amazing bargains on previously owned and demo machines with warranties at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Everything's changing so fast these days, and that's a great thing. Back in my day, we were lucky to get one video to load on a desktop computer, but now there's the Xfinity 10G network. That means the fastest internet with faster speeds rolling out all the time, an internet that can power a house full of devices at once with ultra-low lag. So while one person streams a movie in their room, another can play video games in the basement, while another TikToks in the kitchen. It's the next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Through December 21st, new customers can get 1.2 gigabit internet with Wi-Fi equipment included. It's all just $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile and unlimited data at regular rates. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary. The next generation 10G network only from Xfinity. Xfinity.
It's not too late to save big on your holiday carpet cleanings. The Zero Res holiday sale ends Tuesday. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and pay just $25 per room. That's right, the $25 deal is back just in time for your holiday cleaning. Zero Res is the only no residue carpet cleaner in the area. With their ZR water, there's no soaps, no shampoos, and with no residue left behind, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Plus, with a no residue cleaning, you don't have to worry about any nasty chemicals left behind either. For carpets, ducts, tile, furniture, and more, Zero Res is the right way to clean. And if you've been waiting to get cleaned up for the holidays, this is the sale you've been waiting for. $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Sale ends Tuesday. Must schedule Monday or Tuesday, and you must clean before the new year. You don't have to clean today, but you do have to get on the schedule. Call Zero Res right now or jump online to schedule. $25 per room. Minimums apply. Zero Res, from Nephi to Ogden and everywhere in between. Online at zerores.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the St. George Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was rededicated yesterday after 4 years of renovation. Second, fire damaged a home in Eagle Mountain over the weekend and displaced a family of 9. And third, a jury in Washington will determine how much Rudy Giuliani has to pay for defaming 2 Atlanta poll workers. Right now, 37 degrees and mostly sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
All right, something that we've heard from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in his presidential campaign is he has tried to address the crippling debt. And you know what? Can I air quote crippling debt a little bit on student loans? Student loan, the average debt for student loans is about $37,000. So
it's huge.
I mean, that's a chunk. The average cost of a new car is $48,000.
Right.
And we have 5 years to pay that back, or it's 7 or 8 years to pay that back. So I don't know. I think I look at $37,000 as a student loan. You've got 20 years to pay it back. How crippling, quote unquote crippling, is that student loan debt? Now that's a little bit of a diatribe and aside, but we so easily say, "Oh, can you believe that our kids have such a crippling debt?" Like, yeah, there's lots of things that we take out a lot of debt for, whether it's a credit card, a new car, a home, right? So it's an element of it. But Governor Ron DeSantis has an idea of how to address student loans. And this is what he said.
But at the universities, they should be responsible for defaulted student loan debt. If you produce somebody that can't pay it back, that's on you, and you should have to do that, and we'll get that done.
Abby Osborne is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. And Abby, as a chief of staff at the state Utah House of Representatives, you have a very practical mind. I'm like, when we have this conversation, you're like, how would this work? And I love that. I love that about you, that your immediate reaction wasn't whether it's a good idea or not. You're like, I have no idea what mechanism you would create to enact this.
That super complex. And at the end of the day, whose responsibility is it? Right? That's the question I have is, and that will be the debate. Like if something like this comes to a state level, which you would think that none of that can be determined at the federal level. I wouldn't think that state university systems would hold the debt. So it would come to the state level, and then the debate that would happen on whose responsibility it is when they take out a loan. I mean, when I take out a car loan, it is on me, Dave. It is on me to pay back. It is my responsibility. And if I default, what happens? They come and take my car. That's what happens. So, I mean, that's where the debate would happen.
When I look at the university right now, there's basically no incentive to for an ROI, to make sure that you're getting done as quickly as possible, that you're in a degree that the private market is demanding right now, right? You can go to the University of Utah right now, go onto their website and look up all the different degrees that they offer. I'm trying to remember it is, if not hundreds, it is, it's well over 100. And there are degrees that you can earn. I have no idea what to do with a British studies degree.
Sure.
Or an Asian studies degree. Like, I don't know what practical job there is other than maybe a university professor teaching Asian studies.
Right.
Like
PhD in that or something.
Right.
Of that.
Which, again, that's another 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And
I will tell you, Dave, because we've talked about this a lot at the state level, and we do have one mechanism in the state, and it's called performance-based funding.
Okay.
And so we incentivize, maybe not disincentivize, but we incentivize higher ed institution. Again, there's 16 in the state that get taxing from the state, and we incentivize them for placement after degree. That's not a nationwide thing. That is something we just have in Utah. And is it foolproof? Absolutely not. But does it get to try to get to where degrees are actually turning into jobs? Yes. I don't think we have the follow-up that shows, you got $36,000 in debt and now you're only making $32,000. That doesn't add up. Mm-hmm. We don't go that far, but we do have a push to the universities to try to get placement and jobs after degree.
One thing that I've heard questioned many times is, okay, these universities have an endowment, and what exactly an endowment is. What is an endowment? Because we hear some of these terms sometimes. It's a donation. So oftentimes you'll hit famous, wealthy alumni and say, "Hey, do you want to make a donation to your university?" And then they take that money. And I can give you an example because I've seen it in the sports world. So you could reach out to an NFL football player and say, "Hey, would you like to donate $250,000 to the endowment?" And then that endowment will sponsor a scholarship for another athlete.
Right.
In perpetuity. So they take the $250,000, they put it in an endowment that earns interest. That interest pays for the scholarship in perpetuity. They're not actually tapping into the $250,000.
No, they're just pulling off the interest.
They're just pulling off the interest so it can grow. So when we're looking at the size of endowments, and you had some incredible numbers, like the size of endowments around the country.
Harvard, $53 million endowment.
$billion.
Excuse me, billion. Yeah, largest in the country.
$53 billion. What does that look like? Or maybe something a little smaller. Let's do a private school like Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, I think we said 12 to 18 billion.
Okay.
Right.
So 18
and that's
billion.
Just donors donating. They're alumni. They're former athletes. They're somebody that has some tie to Notre Dame and giving back to the endowment.
What do we see here in Utah? Let's say the University of Utah.
$1.18 billion.
Okay, so compared to Harvard, it's 1/50th of what Harvard has. Very small.
Right.
But still, it's $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Leland Levert from News Nation makes this point about endowments.
You think about these universities, why not make the universities do it, right? The Harvard endowment, $50 billion. That's a higher GDP than countries of Jordan, Tunisia, and Libya. Princeton, $35 billion endowment, higher than GDP of El Salvador, Honduras, and Cambodia. Okay. All of those endowments throw off billions of dollars a year in investment, which, by the way, is tax-free. Contributing to the endowments are tax-free. So in other words, we, the taxpayers, do underwrite the universities still in that way. Why not put the universities on the hook and say, look, if you want all these tax breaks, then you've got to fund the music majors and everybody else?
And that's where I think some of the fear is that if you made the schools responsible for the student loan debt, then the lower paying majors, whatever the music major, the British studies major, that don't have a clear ROI, they don't have that high salary coming out of college, that they would be responsible for that.
Oh, man, it is so interesting because, again, and I'm just looking at our Facebook feed, Dave, we put this question out there to to our viewers, should universities be responsible for student death? And overwhelmingly, our people are telling us no, the individuals should be responsible for taking out that debt.
Your debt, you pay. That's what most of you think, at least on their Facebook page. Thank you.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah Senator Mitt Romney is defending his Republican colleagues who are preventing more aid from going to Ukraine unless Congress agrees to address border security. He told NBC's Meet the Press, we went from 1 to 2,000 border encounters daily 2 decades ago to more like 10 to 12,000 a day this year. He still thinks Ukraine deserves our support.
We're not going to write a blank check. We're going to evaluate exactly how the money is spent. What we're going to do is provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to defend themselves against a brutal invasion by Putin, who is a thug and a murderer.
Senator Romney blames both Republicans and Democrats for the holdup. He says either side could budge, but neither's willing. A new fad diet's been making the rounds on TikTok. It centers on making hard-boiled eggs the main course for all your meals. Registered dietitian Jacob Schmidt says eggs have a spot in your diet, but focusing solely on eggs isn't balanced.
There's always going to be a new diet that has some magic miracle thing that's going to happen, and it's going to be this special food, whether it's a cucumber or an egg or whatever it might be. But the reality is we just do better with a varied diet.
Schmidt recommends eating a variety of vegetables, fruits, and lean protein. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 92 points, while the NASDAQ is down just about 10 points. And our KSL weather, we've got a lot of sunshine right now, and that'll stick around through the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
The semi-annual sale is underway at Foothill Oriental Rugs. Jim Weber is with me, and every time I come into the store, you have such a great variety for people to choose from.
I think the thing that differentiates us from most rug stores in the country, Maria, is that I'm a direct importer, and I've been doing this for 38 years. So every rug in my store is imported directly by us, and that results in you having a unique selection when you come in. And my prices are 25% below the industry average.
Yeah, but this is a chance for folks to come in and get some great deals for the holidays.
If you've ever needed a rug, this is a great time to come in and look at rugs because, like I say, our retail prices are better than the industry and average, and right now they're marked down up to 70% off. We've got a 9x12 Tibetan contemporary rug, retail price $77.76. It's on sale for $38.88. We got a 6x9 Indian sumac, retail price $1,092. It's on sale for $328. It's a great time to put a rug in your home. People want their home to look right for the holidays.
Don't miss out. The semi-annual sale is underway now at Foothill Oriental Rugs, 1460 South Foothill Drive, just south of Foothill Village.
Are you one of those people? Those people. You know, self-driven, confident, love sales and understanding marketing. Would you like to work with a variety of businesses, large and small, helping them succeed? Do you want to actually make the kind of money you know you should make? Are you looking for a career with an opportunity to grow? Well, we're looking for those people. Bonneville Salt Lake Media Group is looking for account executives from a variety of backgrounds and experience levels to connect with high potential business opportunities for digital marketing. KSL Podcasts, KSL News Radio, 103.5 The Era, FM 100.3, and 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. It's advertising sales that will change your world. Not to mention the world-class list of benefits we're famous for. You'll work in person and remotely in a dynamic team culture with opportunities to reach audiences both locally and globally. If this is the kind of work that interests you, text careers to 57500. That's careers to 57500. Text careers to 57500.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Emergency traffic now brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meeks.
We still have police activity blocking right lanes of travel. This is southbound I-15 near University Parkway in Orem. Even once you're past that, you'll see the northbound side is also affected in that same area. But the delays are starting to ease a bit, and traffic is starting to move through the area. But again, north and southbound I-15 in Utah County near University Parkway, Orem, you will see backups and lanes blocked. You want to continue to use caution. Salt Lake County freeways. We did have a UHP slowdown northbound I-15 approaching 6 North. That's been moved out of traffic to the shoulder, and those backups have eased. The Zero Res holiday sale is on now. Just $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Schedule Monday or Tuesday and clean before the new year. Schedule today online at zerores.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, a low-pressure system will help us avoid inversions for the next few days, even though we're not expecting rain or snow. Our weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, we're mostly sunny and 39 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
That's right. It's Boyd time. We love 11 o'clock. We love when Boyd joins us, Boyd Matheson from Inside Sources. And, man, I love it. It's me. It's Boyd. It's Abby Osborne. No Debbie. Debbie's off, enjoying herself.
She's not even listening to us.
And we're
right
just over here, cat's away.
Boyd, welcome. We filled in for you a little bit last week,
Yeah.
so we're glad to have you back. I'm glad I don't have to do that afternoon show for you this week.
Well, thank you for doing it while we were
big
gone.
shoes to fill.
I live to tell the tale that I survived 7 grandchildren in Disneyland for a week, so I do get a survivor button of some sort.
Bravest man in America, right here. Boyd Matheson. 7 grandkids and Disneyland.
And in case any of you didn't know, I am actually the last magic bender, which is a story for another day.
What? I don't even know what that means.
That's quite the tease.
Is that a
That's something
Harry
I do
Potter
with
thing?
it's something I do with my grandchildren. I'm just magic, and usually magic manifests itself in the form of wintergreen lifesavers or Mentos.
Oh, now
Just
we're
so you
talking.
know.
out of their ears
Because of their dragon
Anywhere,
breath. Okay, Boyd. So, okay, as we're coming around the holiday season, I usually remember the holiday season for a couple things. Number one, Christmas gifts and shutdowns. I can't tell you.
Government shutdown.
Government loves to
Nothing
have
better.
some crisis right around this time, mid-December. Do we have a looming disaster in December, or did we at least delay it until the new year?
This is a unique year. Normally, this week would be the best week ever to be a lobbyist and the worst week ever to be an American taxpayer. Because typically there's a shutdown showdown that happens right before the break for the Christmas and New Year's. And everything gets thrown into a big omnibus bill. And so it is a great time to be a lobbyist because you get all kinds of stuff thrown in that nobody ever reads, and funding gets for a whole bunch of things. And it's a really bad time to be a taxpayer. This year it's a little bit different because of the way things shook out in the November shutdown showdown. They punted it all the way to January. So really they have just a couple of days left, and they have some pretty big things on the table that they have to deal with before they leave. They've got to do the defense authorization, the NDAA. They have to fund the FAA, and then they also need to deal with the funding for Ukraine, Israel, and then they're throwing some border security is going to be the big debate on that.
Boyd, will those now the debate obviously with Speaker McCarthy back in November, and then all the different people that ran but didn't actually run, and now we're with Speaker Johnson, right? He has agreed, right, with his caucus and with the right wing of his caucus that he would not have omnibus funding bills.
Yeah.
And so are the 4 that you just named, are they going to be in separate funding bills, or will you see them in one and then we'll debate all the separate ones come January?
No, these will be done separately. So the NDAA will be done separately, the FAA will be done separately, and then whatever aid package is actually separate because it's a supplemental bill to defense spending, and so that would actually come out of a different kind of bucket. It all ends up in coming out of your pocket and my pocket, but that's how they kind of divide that out. So the big debate in terms of the omnibus issue will start January 1. When they get back in session, they'll have to deal with all of that before January the 18th to fund the government.
Okay, there are 12 appropriations bills. We never actually pay attention to all 12. They just kind of get lumped in together, and that's part of what Speaker Johnson wants to do. He wants to divide them up, regular order. Here's your 12 bills. What are some of the bills? The 12 bills, these mystical 12 bills that apparently get voted on.
Yeah, no, they're all, it's education, it's defense, of course, is in there. We also have to remember that a lot of the funding is automatic. When you look at all of the entitlement programs, that stuff's already baked in. And we don't even talk about that, and yet that is the biggest driver. These 12 appropriations bills are really critical, but they're a really small piece of the pie. So we have to have a different kind of conversation about all of those. So part of what is different, going back to your question, Abby, in terms of how is this different under Speaker Johnson, he is trying to get back to regular order so that these don't all get into a shutdown, showdown, lumped together in a big omnibus, because then that becomes a time when everything's done in the back room at midnight. Again, great time for lobbyists, really bad time for taxpayers. Right. That's why we're $33 trillion in debt. And so he's trying to get that regular order. There's also another thing that's moving along with this, and that is that bipartisan, bicameral bill to have the debt commission. That would really look at all of that. And that's a really interesting debate in and of itself. I think it's a good thing in that it would take some of the politics out of it. It would give people political cover to say we're going to get serious about talking about everything from do we need to raise taxes and increase revenue? How do we deal with Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid? And have a real discussion about that. On the other hand, all that committee can do is create a report that goes back to the House Budget Committee. So the real answer is Congress, just do your job. If Congress just did the job and had the real conversation, then we wouldn't be in this mess every few months.
Couldn't the committees ask for this kind of audit anyway? Like, there's nothing holding them back.
Not a single thing except re-election.
Which is happening right now. Right? They're in full on.
Yeah.
Right? They'll have to announce and register for their re-election sometime between January 2nd and January 8th here.
In Utah, yeah.
In Utah. And then, so they'll be full on.
Yeah, it'll be full re-election cycle when all of this hits. In January. So any kind of real reform is probably not very realistic in 2024 just because of the election process. And so a lot of people are just going to be hunkered down in campaign mode, which makes it really hard to collaborate when you're trying to whack somebody over the head to win an election.
Well, I was just thinking Celeste Malloy, who just won. It now has to file to run again. She just got sworn in like 2 weeks ago, and now she's doing it all again. To your point, Boyd, when you're constantly running, it's hard to get work done, and it just seems like we've created this environment of you have to be constantly running.
Yeah, and that is part of the problem because then what gets rewarded is what works for campaigns, not what works for governing. And the thing we all have to remember as voters is we're not electing these people to run for re-election. We're electing them to govern.
Right.
But the system is all backwards in terms of what it rewards. And so if you're trying to raise money for a campaign, then you're trying to do things that are getting you attention. And in today's social media world, that's usually what we like to call performative jackassery. And that seems to work, and it seems to get the funds in. And so we're going to continue to see that. And the problem is it prevents real conversations and real compromise. Because whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're a Democrat and suddenly you're working with Republicans, you're going to have a primary challenger. And it's going to be harder to stay in your seat. If you're a Republican and you're doing a whole bunch of things with Democrats, someone's going to run against you. And so we're not rewarding. We're rewarding bad behavior rather than rewarding good behavior. And that's the problem.
So going back to these continuing resolutions, Boyd, you sat in the seat as a chief of staff. You know what this is like back in D.C. I don't have to go through this here. We have a balanced budget. We have X amount of dollars and we spend X amount of dollars. I mean, it's really easy math for me. This blows my mind, the $33 trillion in debt that we're just accumulating. Give us the timeline for our listeners over the next, this week, they have 4 days, right? They're on a plane today. They're heading back to D.C. They're going to govern for a few days and then come back on Friday. But then they're in the Christmas break.
Yeah.
And so then they don't come back till the new year. Give us the timeline of what's happening this week. They have to make the 4 decisions on those 4 bills, and then they come back and do the rest of it. But what are the deadline? When does the midnight happen?
So in terms of overall spending and funding of the government, that will be in January on the 18th. So all of that they're going to punt into the new year. So I wouldn't expect to see any kind of flurry of activity there. The incentives just aren't there. The things that you will see this week, I'm guessing you'll see today and tomorrow. You'll see some things on the NDAA. There is some negotiation going on between the House and the Senate. They each have versions of that bill. So that will take place. You're going to see really hot over the next 24 to 36 hours. Of course, President Zelensky from Ukraine will be here and will speak to all the senators tomorrow morning in Washington, D.C., making his case for additional funding for Ukraine and why it's vital right now. The big sticking point has been around adding border security to all of that. And there is some bipartisan work going on there. Senator Murphy from Connecticut and Senator Langford from Oklahoma, Republican, those two have been working together to figure out the compromise, what the compromise can be as it relates to the border security piece. Personally, I don't think it should be part of that, but it probably does get folded in some way. In terms of Israel, Ukraine, border security, those will be the hot things to watch this week. And then the NDAA and the FAA, I think they'll get that done.
Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources. Look forward to it today at 1 o'clock, 1 to 3. Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources. Thanks, Boyd. When we come back, Blake Moore he has a question of the extent of President Biden's involvement in the family business dealings. This is the Hunter Biden stuff. Well, a national politics reporter with the Deseret News breaks down what is going on, what's the latest with Hunter Biden, his overseas dealings, and how the president could be connected.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Finally, Friday. Now you can hear Dave and Dujanovic 5 days a week.
Starting in January, Dave and Debbie will be on Fridays at 9.
Then the movie show from 11 to 1.
On KSL News Radio.
Stream BYU basketball.
Richie gets into the paint. Floater, yes!
Hear that breaking story with a flick of your wrist.
Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy resigning rather suddenly.
Get instant alerts on Utah news and weather. It's so easy. Get in your phone's app store and download the mobile app for KSL News Radio.
Merry Christmas, honey.
A Bernina embroidery machine? It's wonderful.
Bernina products are wonderful Christmas gifts that you'll love and use. Take advantage of these holiday specials at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo.
Save thousands of dollars on world-famous Bernina sewing machines, such as the B700E for $2,999, the B500E $1,999, and get a free $2,000 embroidery module when you purchase the 770 Cave machine.
48 months, no interest on certain machines.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
25% off all Bernina luggage, embroidery hoops, and presser feet.
Amazing bargains on previously owned and demo machines with warranties at Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
I guess it's human nature, Amanda, that no matter how much money we have in our savings account, it never seems like it's enough. And if you find yourself in that mode right now, let us direct you over to our friends at UCCU. They are wanting to help you supercharge your savings.
UCCU is offering high-rate savings options with yields up to 5.5%. All you do is go to UCCU.com and select a high-rate savings option to do just what you said, supercharge your savings.
You're going to get a much bigger return on your savings right now. It's a savings certificate, which means you make one deposit up front and your money grows over a fixed period of time. So you can have that grow over 5 years, but UCCU has created some very short-term savings certificates with high yields, short like 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
So you decide how long do you want to put that money. You deposit money, a one-time only deposit, and then you let it stay in. The longer it stays in there, the higher the interest rate you earn.
And if you need immediate access to your money, UCCU's Money Market will give you a high yield and anytime access.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way
over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Completely immerse yourself in University of Utah sports with the free Utah 360 app. Behind-the-scenes exclusives, local KSL coverage, game stats, and more. Download for free in the App Store or Google Play Store.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Senator Mitt Romney is siding with other Republicans on the issue of border security. He says it has to be addressed along with aid for Ukraine and Israel. Second, many people in Utah still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck, even though the experts say our economy is doing very well. And third, eggs are good for you unless they're the main component of a fad diet. Right now, 39 degrees, mostly sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
This is the headline in the Deseret News that really caught my attention. Utah lawmaker questions President Biden's involvement with Hunter Biden's business dealings. Now, Hunter Biden, obviously the son of President Joe Biden, there's a lot of stuff going on with this guy.
So much, Dave.
It's kind of hard to keep track of everything. Abby Osborne is filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. And listen, kids of presidents, brothers of presidents, sisters of presidents,
cousins.
They've always been, it seems like forever, have been an anchor, a weight on the president that is serving in office, because they say something crazy or they just have personal demons they're fighting. So much has gone on over the years. Do we spend too much time talking about the children or the uncle or the crazy uncle of presidents?
This one, Dave, is straight up federal offenses. He did not file taxes. And then on the taxes he did file, he had his accountants labeled them as business dealings for really nefarious things. I mean, we all know what he did in his past, right? The drugs and the prostitution and everything else, and not good, right, for a president's son to be doing these things. But then $9 million in taxes that he did not file. That is, again, continuing to get extensions, but then never paid. That's against the law. You have to pay your taxes.
Yeah, you and I would be in jail for this.
Yes.
Gitanjali Punya was the author of this article, and thank you for joining us. Let's step back a little bit and let's talk specifically about Hunter Biden, and then we're going to see, because this is a key moment. Is there any way that the president is connected to some of his decisions in life before President Biden was elected as president? So let's go back to Hunter Biden. Where does it start? Where do the troubles begin?
Of course. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. I'll take you to the committee hearing that happened on last Tuesday, the Ways and Means Committee hearing. And as you mentioned, Representative Moore, he was there at the committee hearing. And what he said was, it's not about Hunter Biden's tax crimes anymore. We already have plenty of evidence that happened. We already have evidence that the Biden family received, quote, many, many millions of dollars from foreign entities, end quote. So I guess the question that Representative Moore is now asking is, to what extent was President Biden involved? So that's kind of where we're at. We didn't find out much from this closed door hearing that happened on Tuesday. They went over some IRS whistleblower testimonies that we've already heard. We've already heard from those people before. So, but what is interesting is this committee's chairman, he said something that was so interesting. He said that the whistleblowers, they released more than 300 emails between Vice President Biden at the time, and Hunter Biden, President Biden's brother, James Biden, as well as their business associates. So President Biden's emailing all these people. And the Ways and Means Committee chairman basically suggested that President Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion in aid to Ukraine if the country didn't fire the prosecutors who were investigating Burisma Group, which is the company that Hunter was on the board for. So you see that they're making these connections. They're connecting these dots right now.
Yeah, Burisma is kind of at the center of this. If I remember correctly, Burisma is an energy company in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Hunter Biden somehow gets placed on that board, and one of the allegations is the reason he was put on that board is because he had the direct line, or I can call dad anytime you want, and then they call that peddling influence. So it's not like
that's Hunter, against the law too, Dave.
That's super. Well, not just legally, but morally. It makes all the sense in the world that can't be done. You can't have, be directly benefiting from the possibility that you can call dad up anytime that you want. And there are, speaking to these whistleblowers, times when people have said, "Oh yeah, we would be at a dinner," and Hunter would take a call from dad and say, basically, "Hey dad, say hi to everybody," kind of showing that I have access to dad. Like obviously most people do have dad's phone number. Okay, so with the Burisma dealings, this money, is any of it showing that Joe Biden, the president, is directly benefiting from these millions of dollars that's going to the quote-unquote family?
I think that still needs to be figured out. I think what's clear is that, like you said, Hunter Biden was selling his family's political power, the access. I think they're still following the money, and that is, Senator Romney gave an interview over the weekend, and he said that, while Hunter is, not the best person, I think he said unsavory person or something like that. But with that said, I think the connection to his dad benefiting, President Biden benefiting, it needs to be a little stronger for an impeachment inquiry.
So Speaker Johnson, speaking of impeachment, has asked for a impeachment hearing to begin, right? Coming off the heels of this Ways and Means Committee. And obviously the 300 plus emails that you referred to earlier in this segment, we didn't get a look at those. Those are not public. The IRS whistleblowers just said we have these, and they do involve all of these Bidens. And so where do we go from here? What do you see as the next steps for Congress to start the impeachment hearing or have more Ways and Means Committee hearings to look at the content of these emails?
So how I see it is, I think there's two things colliding right now. You have Hunter Biden's tax charges, and those are leading congressional lawmakers to the larger inquiry of whether President Biden was involved or not. The tax charges, he's charged with 9 charges for allegedly withholding $1.4 million in taxes over 4 years. So that plays a big role. That's the missing puzzle piece, so to speak, right? Yeah.
Well, it's when I look at it, and as we listen to it, it's difficult because it feels like every attack in Washington is politically motivated. Mm-hmm. And there's no question that this would have political ramifications. And also, if I'm the son of somebody that's the most powerful man in the world, it's hard to run away from that as well. It's hard to say, oh, well, I'm my own man, even though my dad is president of the United States. But I think what the committees are trying to figure out is, was there a direct coordination to monies that were being paid? Because those essentially could be considered bribes. It's a fascinating read. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, in the Deseret News, it's called Utah Lawmaker Questions President Biden's Involvement with Hunter Biden's Business Dealings, where you break it down very well. Gitanjali Punya, thank you for joining us from the Deseret News. I look forward to your continued reporting on this as it continues to develop. All right, when we return, the three university presidents that we were discussing earlier in the show are coming from the most renowned universities in the world, Harvard, MIT, Penn, in all sorts of hot water because they wouldn't, in a congressional hearing last week, denounce Jewish genocide. Amos Gior from the University of Utah joins us next to discuss what is so offensive about these university presidents standing up for what they believe is free speech.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah's economy is doing very well, according to the experts, but many people still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck.
I think that consumers are reacting to a lot of things. First, it's really, unsettling to have a war in Israel and in Gaza. It's really unsettling to have the Russian war taking place.
That's the chief economist for the Salt Lake Chamber, Natalie Gochner. She says salaries have increased more than inflation this past year. We have very low unemployment, so we shouldn't be feeling as much of a pinch. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has revised the way stakes and wards are created. In a letter to bishops and stake presidents earlier this month, the church's first presidency wrote that creating a new stake will require 2,000 members. That starts with the new year. Until now, stakes in the United States required 3,000 members. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A new warning about gift card scams. The National Retail Federation is saying gift card spending expected to be about $29.3 billion this season. Police say shoppers may want to take a close look at the card they choose before they go to the checkout stand. Here's ABC's Laura Spencer.
The New Britain Township Police Department in Pennsylvania reporting more than 100 gift cards were recently compromised at a local grocery store. This time, scammers tampering with the protective cover in the store to get the number off the back of the card. Police warning shoppers to be on the lookout this holiday season.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day now, 127 points. The NASDAQ is up just about 12. S&P 500 also up 12. And our KSL weather. Looks like we're going to see a lot of sunshine this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
on KSL News Radio.
Introducing Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Yes, and you could save up to $4,500 through possible tax credits and other discounts. Purchase a new system today, and Yes will buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
It's Macy's Great Gift Sale. Take an extra 20% off gift ideas from designers they'll love with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of great deals on women's sweaters, coats, and PJs, 25 to 50% off. Beauty essentials from Origins, Elizabeth Arden, and more, 25 to 40% off. And the season's hottest toys, 15 to 50% off. Plus, everyone gets $10 Macy's money for every $50 spent. Now at Macy's. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Positive mortgage news? Interest rates have dropped and trending down from 2023 yearly highs. Click loansbyrick.com. Purchase or cashback loans. Visit loansbyrick.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Granite Credit Union's new Dividend Plus checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We're all clear on the southbound side of I-15 by University Parkway in Orem from the earlier police activity. But on the northbound side near that same area, we had a crash that had stopped all lanes of travel on northbound I-15. And that's where we still have the cleanup of an accident northbound I-15. It's prior to University Parkway, Orem, and it's over to the left. However, even though they're trying to get it cleaned up and completely moved out of traffic, it's still causing slow and go delays back to about Center Street, Provo. Enjoy Utah's beautiful snow and whole family fun with winter tubing at Soldier Hollow in Midway. Experience longer tubing lanes, shorter lines, and more fun. Book your session now at UtahOlympicLegacy.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, a low-pressure system will help us avoid inversions for the next few days. And even though we're not expecting rain or snow, our weather should be dry through the next week with highs in the 40s. And right now, 39 degrees, mostly sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Dan Bomas, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, there's a few fairly well-known universities in the world here that are in some hot water. At least the presidents of these universities, three: MIT, Penn, and Harvard. They were called to speak before Congress, and specifically to answer questions about their campus policies regarding free speech. There were a lot of pro-Palestinian protests. Many of those protests became very incendiary, where they were calling for the eradication of the Jewish state, supporting genocide. And Congress wanted to know, okay, so does this cross the line in your campus policies? Is this bullying? Is this harassment? Let me play a little bit from Representative Elise Stefanik and Penn President Liz McGill, and this is their exchange.
Yes. I am asking, specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context.
If the
yes or no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
It was this 3 times over.
Hot exchange.
Oh, yeah. A very hot exchange. But it was incredible to me that the presidents of Penn, MIT, and Harvard, they almost verbatim, almost to the word, said the exact same things on this line of questioning. What was your reaction when you heard this, when you first heard it?
Holy smokes. Really, I cannot believe that this was allowed. Like, by not saying yes, and not having the proper protocols here, it said to me, we're just going to allow all of this.
Yeah.
We don't have anything to stop this.
There was an element to it. You can't see that because obviously in radio you don't see the reactions, but there was a sly grin. There was a little bit of a smirk. There was a defiance in each one of these answers from that I read. That's how I took it. Whether that was intended or not, there was no question that there was a little bit of a grin, a little bit of a smile, and Representative Stefanik was absolutely just beside herself. Joining us right now, Amos Giora, who's a professor of law at the University of Utah, formerly served in the Israeli Defense Forces. has recently written an opinion piece in The Hill. What did you make of this, Professor?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. So I watched most of the testimony, not all of it, of the three, and particularly of the Congresswoman from New York. We can begin with former President McGill. The smirk, I think that's the most appropriate word, was, for me, an important visual. But more important than the visual was the, across the board, the refusal to articulate clearly the impact and the consequences of the words uttered by protesters, demonstrators. You noted there's similarity amongst the three of them. I think the major law firm represents two, if not three of them.
Professor Amos Giora is joining us right now. It seems like we may have lost his signal. We'll try to get back to him.
He's in Israel right now, right? Currently in Israel, Dave. So
yeah. He served in the Israeli Defense Forces for 20 years. So this is very near and dear to his heart. He's been a great resource as we have been following the war in Israel and Gaza. And Professor Giora was, as you were hearing him explain, shocked at. We ask questions for a living on this show, and this is what we call a softball question. It's an easy question. Will you denounce the genocide of Jews?
Yes or no. She specifically said yes or no to each one of them.
Yes.
The same question, all three.
It's the easiest question in the world to answer. You just say, no, I don't support the genocide of Jews. Now, if there is a qualification here, and they say, but I do support the First Amendment, that all of these things would have been infinitely better than the answers that these presidents of the university gave. Professor Giora is back on the line with us.
The phrase that's being used widely, the river to the sea, I translate as the destruction of the state of Israel. That is what the river, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean, free Palestine. That means there will be no state of Israel. We need to be very clear about what that phrase, that chant means. That, as far as I understand, is genocide. And the unwillingness or the failure, I leave the adjective to you, of the three presidents to clearly articulate what those words mean, their ramifications and their possible consequences, and the clear danger that the Jewish students feel on their three campuses. However you watch your news, you can watch it on YouTube, you can read testimonies, you can read a number of different accounts by Jewish students on all three campuses who clearly are feeling unsafe because they understand that they are being threatened. The responsibility of a university president is to protect the students on their campus. I hate to use the phrase, I apologize. This is not rocket science. In addition to the clear over-lawyering, there is a thing called basic humanity. If you have students who feel threatened, endangered, are afraid to come out of their rooms, physically cannot get to classrooms because they're being blocked from getting to classrooms, if there are professors who are participating in that inability to have an education that somebody's paying for, that absolutely must be viewed as intolerable. And we can, view free speech this way, this way, and back. But I absolutely believe that when speech endangers and physically endangers, whether it's the river to the sea or students on campus of those three distinguished universities, the role of the president is to be the chief executive officer. That's what they are. And I had a feeling while I was watching, particularly McGill, I felt like she was in a moot court competition from her perspective. I think that's what that smirk indicated. I don't think she understood at all the seriousness of it. And then I watched the apology tour the next day when she sat in front of the teleprompter, poorly, by the way. And I also read carefully President Gay from Harvard's, her apology the following day, scripted as scripted can be scripted. The apology tour doesn't work for me whatsoever.
When we were listening to these three presidents, and it was dodging, avoiding a very direct and simple question. I do wonder if there wasn't a larger conversation to be had about free speech and speech on college campuses, because it is supposed to be this safe place where you can have really in-depth conversations, maybe have even extreme conversations. This is where you're supposed to hash out some of your views, and there's supposed to be an area, if it's not done on college campuses, then where can it be done? As a professor at the University of Utah, are you sensitive to restricting the speech of your students?
It's an excellent question. I'm a firm believer in free speech. I've written about free speech. We were all raised in the First Amendment. The question is, where do you draw the line? And for me, the line is drawn when there's a relationship between speech and potential violence. And the fact that at those three institutions, students, again, repeating, can't leave their class, can't leave their dorm rooms, can't get to class, that means that speech has crossed that line. I'm all in favor of rigorous, vigorous debate. I speak as someone who has spoken at I don't know how many different college campuses. Do people always agree with me? No, of course not. Do I enjoy the spirited debate? You betcha. Do I appreciate the pushback? Of course I do. But there's a but here, not when that speech, river to the sea, absolutely, it's not implied, it's explicit, is a destruction of the state of Israel. That's something that I think goes one step too far. But again, I want to emphasize, free speech is a critical part of the American paradigm of the American DNA, and it is for a reason. It's the First Amendment, and I think that's essential. The question is whether or not institutions writ large are sufficiently sensitive to the consequences of speech, particularly now. If I may add one other point. The notion that it depends on the context, which was McGill's fallback, I don't know if you've had a chance to see all over Facebook. So, when Jews arrived in Auschwitz, the famous sign said, work makes free. Facebook is a photoshopping, it depends on the context, which I think it highlights that for many of us, the whole notion of context, especially with respect to the river to the sea, is something that we well understand. I think that also needs to be stated in the context of the fear or the discomfort fear that Jewish students feel on college campuses at the moment. And the numbers in terms of anti-Semitism, the spike of anti-Semitism speaks for itself.
Yeah, to me, the irony of those statements when she says it depends on the context, I thought the very same thing. I thought, you mean the context of genocide that the Jewish people have experienced within generations? I mean, something that grandparents are able to speak directly to their grandchildren about. Amos Giora, thank you for joining us. A fascinating conversation. This did cost President Liz McGill, her job at Penn. There is pressure for Harvard's president to resign as well as MIT's president. So we will continue to follow this. Abby, you said, I loved how you tied it back to here in Utah, what Utah has done to address this specifically.
Yeah, and passed a resolution last week and to really continue the neutrality but also protect free speech. But then on situations like this, what happened at those three universities, no tolerance.
Thank you, Professor Giora, for joining us. When we come back, you've seen these. You've seen these around Utah. You've seen them in Times Square. Light the World initiative. It's expanding this year. The machines that buy chickens and vaccines, it's growing, and it keeps growing. How many locations and in how many countries when we come back?
Dave and Dujanovic.
We know Utah relies on KSL for balance and fair treatment.
We provide news and analysis from all sides.
Utah's Morning News from 5 to 9.
Dave and Debbie, 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
This is the lunch rush at your local deli. Orders are flying in. Online, on the phone, and in person.
Order for Nick.
So is it possible that fast internet could help your business outrun the rush? It is with Comcast Business. Up-leveling your speed with gig speed Wi-Fi, powering all your devices, and fast downloads and uploads, powered by the next generation 10G network. With Comcast Business, next-level speed isn't just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Call or go online to learn more. Ends 12/20/2023. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and automatic payments. New 50 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires gig internet and compatible router.
It's not too late to save big on your holiday carpet cleanings. The Zero Res Holiday Sale ends Tuesday. Schedule your carpet cleaning today and pay just $25 per room. That's right, the $25 deal is back just in time for your holiday cleaning. Zero Res is the only no residue carpet cleaner in the area. With their ZR water, there's no soaps, no shampoos, and with no residue left behind, your carpets stay cleaner longer. Plus, with a no residue cleaning, you don't have to worry about any nasty chemicals left behind either. For carpets, ducts, tile, furniture, and more, Zero Res is the right way to clean. And if you've been waiting to get cleaned up for the holidays, this is the sale you've been waiting for. $25 per room for carpet cleaning. Sale ends Tuesday. Must schedule Monday or Tuesday, and you must clean before the new year. You don't have to clean today, but you do have to get on the schedule. Call Zero Res right now or jump online to schedule. $25 per room. Minimums apply. Zero Res, from Nephi to Ogden and everywhere in between. Online at zerores.com.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Utah is one of several states that offer school choice options for families of students with disabilities. So far, Children First Education Fund is the first and only state designated scholarship granting organization for students with disabilities in Utah. Executive Director Ronnie Daniel shares more.
Children First Education Fund administers the Utah Special Needs Opportunity Scholarship Program. The state legislature passed this law in 2020, which provides school choice options for children with disabilities to attend private school or homeschool. Children First awards scholarships to children in kindergarten through 12th grade. The law allows Children First to receive donations from individuals and companies and provide our donors with a unique 100% Utah state income tax credit for their donations. This allows donors to redirect money that they would already be paying for taxes to this incredible program to help children with disabilities. There is no limit on the amount of donations, but the state limits Children First to about $6 million in tax credits that we can give in any year. For more information about the scholarship or to make a donation, please visit our website at cfe-fund.org.
The Children First Education Fund is dedicated to working closely with its partner schools, families, and donors to achieve their shared mission of providing a quality education choice for students with disabilities. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the experts say Utah's economy is doing great. Many people don't think they're the ones who benefit. Second, a new policy from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints means it'll take fewer members to make a stake. And third, there's more than one way to steal money from a gift card, and the one you select from a rack in the store might already be compromised. Right now, 40 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
It's my favorite vending machine. And I'm not talking about the Diet Coke vending machine. I'm talking about the Light the World vending machine. It's the Light the World initiative. It's a program run by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this initiative, it's expanding. There are machines spread around all over, I'm going to be honest, kind of all over the world. In 7 years, these giving machines have taken in millions of dollars of donation. 1.5 million people have donated the giving machine, 61 locations in 7 countries.
Really around the world, Dave.
Yes.
For sure.
There's a couple here in Utah. There's one in Orem. There's one in Salt Lake. You can look up Light Up the World initiative. Mary Richards joins us right now from the Church News. And Mary, can you describe for our listeners that may not know what these machines are? Can you describe them for us?
Yeah, so like you said, it's this big red vending machine, and you're going to it, but you're not buying something for yourself. You're buying something for someone else, and it's everything from, and everybody loves this, every year they want to buy these livestock options because it seems so exciting and cool to buy a goat or some chickens or honeybees, but there's other options include clean water, school supplies, immunizations, sewing kits, glasses, mentorships, all these wonderful things that build self-reliance and help lift people in many areas around the world. So it's through these partnerships with local and national and global charities that these items are stocked in these giving machines and these vending machines. You punch in the number, what you want to buy, and then all of that, 100%, goes right to the charity and helps those people.
It's so incredible, Mary. They're located. There's 2 locations here in Utah, as Dave said, but they're located around the world and specific to benefit the people in those countries. But and you just described what kind of things that can donate. But how is giving this year? We're 2 weeks exactly to the day, Dave. I'm just telling you, 2 weeks from today
Noted.
for Christmas. How are donations going this year with inflation, everything else, and people's constraint on money? Are donations still up?
From everything I can tell, it's just so beautiful. It's robust. People are going with their families. They're going in person because it's a tradition for them now. For so many of these giving machines, like in Salt Lake City and Orem, have been here for a few years now, and others in their brand new locations, there's an excitement there to go see it. Oh, we have one in our city. Let's go. Everywhere from Texas to the southeast part of the U.S. to Mexico City to the Philippines to Canada, Arizona. There's some at home where my family lives in Kansas City, and families are going still because they recognize that value in giving to others, especially because they know that maybe they're suffering a little bit with inflation, but somebody else might be more, and this is the way to help them and it just benefits the giver and the receiver.
I think that the concept, it's almost impossible to really wrap my mind around it. So if I go in, last year I bought chickens. Are you telling me that I think, how do you not buy chickens? That was amazing.
I know.
So are you telling me that when I bought my chickens, that literal chickens are being given to a family?
Yes. If you go to givingmachine.org, you can see some of these videos that show those donations at work. You'll also see them being shared on social media this season. If you follow any of the Giving Machine's social media accounts, and there are many of them, these videos are showing where the church went to Jordan and saw how goats that were given to a family helped that family. Chickens in Africa. I spoke to a lady who had she had been a part of this partnership and giving these chickens to families, and said it's exactly right. Then all of a sudden, this woman has value in her village. She's now being able to provide for her family because she's selling the eggs and growing her flock. It's amazing.
That is incredible. And it's the real life, right? You see on the commercials about giving water to another country, but this actually gets to people. I'm always a little skeptical about where those donations go to, but I know for certain that this donation will actually get to the people because the church is involved and the great impact it has. It is so incredible. How much longer can people donate, Mary? How much longer will these machines be up and running?
Yeah, they are going in most of the 61 locations will have these giving machines through Christmas, most either to about New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. A couple might be up for a few days after New Year's. There's some really fun things happening in the Philippines, for example. They love to celebrate Christmas. I think they were the first ones to kind of unofficially launch theirs in November. And others are saying, ours will be up the latest. So just check on social media, check on givingmachine.org, the exact locations and everything. And we've also got more coverage in the churchnews.com. But most are going through around New Year's Day.
Mary Richards, thank you for joining us. Former reporter here. You know Mary very well, but is with the Church News right now. Mary, thank you for the update. What a great program. And Abby, I'm telling you, I love donating chickens. For some reason, I love donating chickens.
It's actually, when else can you do that?
Honeybees. I didn't know honeybees were on the menu this year.
Incredible.
Abby Osborne, thank you so much for filling in for Debbie Dujanovic today. We'll turn things over to Maria Chaleos and the KSL News team.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
Listen at home on any smart speaker.
And in your car at 102.7 FM.
This is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and